YouTube's online.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I think
Don't
we're
panic.
recording. Don't panic. Tell you what, boys, if only people knew what we spoke about before this podcast.
It'll be our last podcast. Hello, Eggchasers, and welcome to this, the Eggchasers Rugby podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. We are here once again in the rugby dungeon to talk about the autumn internationals and the big one. The world champions New Zealand against the world ranked number 2 side Ireland in the biggest showdown in rugby since the last World Cup. And it was everything we hoped it would be. That and all the other international matches are going to go under the microscope today. With me, Tim, with him, JB.
Hello, Timothy.
And with Phil.
Hello, Tim.
We're at Rugby Podcast on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're currently broadcasting on YouTube, so get on there. We are Facebook, everywhere else, wherever you are, we are. And very, very much for listening.
Including next week when we'll be at Marseille, Rome and Monaco with a short stop in Nice.
We will.
Everywhere.
We are going to take some pod equipment, aren't we? Because we're going to expect. Last year, JB and I went and
Your pod all. So it was like literally 5 minutes with Richie, 5 minutes with Bowden, 5 minutes with Rico,
Eddie.
I wonder how that would go down this. A lot of water has gone underneath the Eddie Bridge since we met him last
Do you
time.
think he's been listening to you?
Well, put it this way: when we saw him last time, he just won Coach of the Year. How
Yes.
does that seem?
That was 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to get into all of the rugby. Did you manage? How much of it did you manage to watch? Because a lot of these games were overlapping.
I didn't see Wales. Saw everything else pretty much.
I saw the first half of Wales, or the first half an hour of Wales. I've seen the highlights of that since. I watched the Friday night game, I watched the Sunday game, and pretty much everything in between, including actually now extended highlights of Italy-Australia.
Oh,
as
I've not seen that either.
So, yeah, gone pretty
But I don't
deep.
even know the score. I mean, I'm sure Australia won, but what was the score?
Australia did win 26.
21-7, something like that.
Yeah, 26-7 or 26-10.
We will have another podcast coming your way which is a Premiership focused one, but obviously, as you can understand, we are focusing totally on the international rugby, and there's only one place to start: the Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Saturday evening. Now, having said this last week, when we were talking about in the context of some of the laws and the interpretations and how complicated it can be, I can say from the anecdotally, with the people I was with earlier today, not rugby supporters, mainly football fans, Manchester United fans, but
Footy? Who are you with?
footy. But they all watched Ireland v New Zealand last night and were raving about the game, about the game of
amazing.
rugby, broadly speaking.
Yeah.
And how they will watch more. So this whole window is a massive shop window for the game in general, with the World Cup a year away. So how brilliant that on a terrestrial channel, prime time, we had that.
Tell you what, Channel 4 could not be more delighted that they happened to pick up that game.
Yeah.
I mean, the rugby gods are smiling down at Channel 4's executives now.
They really are. Even though, so like, a lot of kind of neutrals might look at the score and say, 16-9, perhaps not a great game.
But what?
Nothing could be further from the truth.
Here
It
you
was
are.
sensational.
I'm going to say it. Actually, before I say it, I want to just caveat this. I want to say that in the NFL, when people want to say something profound, they don't say the NFL, they say this National Football League or the National Football League, right? I want to say this. It was the greatest game of rugby union football I have ever seen. That's how good it was.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Were
that
we talking
good.
in those?
It was.
I mean, it was amazing.
Now, is it as entertaining as, say, Fiji in full flight against Wales when they knocked out Wales? Something like that, because that's an amazing game in terms of, just the sheer spectacle of it. But actually, the standard of rugby being played yesterday was the highest level of rugby ever played, I would say.
So I think I agree with you when you caveat it in terms of the standard of rugby.
Yeah.
And I thought the standard of both teams was truly exceptional. And I think I said it to you during the game. I think the standard of New Zealand's attack is marginally better than Ireland's attack. But I think Ireland's defence is better than any defence we've ever seen.
Ever.
Ever. Yeah.
I mean, that's
not
remarkable what
Yeah.
they did. I mean, line speed. We all knew line speed was important.
Well,
it's been mentioned before. But work rate, who knew it?
Line speed, work rate. The line speed wasn't that aggressive. They do play a different system to like a blitz defense.
Yeah.
But it was the solidity of the defensive line, the kind of communication and the cohesiveness and the understanding of everyone not to create any dog legs, the understanding of when to dive in and go for a turnover, go for a jackal, but not to do it all the time, and topping everything off. And probably the most important thing out of all of it was how few penalties they gave away.
Yeah.
And it's that decision making that kind of solidified that, and they completely nullified what is probably, well, it is definitely the most potent attack in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
It's one of the most potent attacks we've ever seen again, and they just completely nullified it.
Yeah. The thing you said, Phil, is the communication, because they were completely comfortable. They never looked rushed. They never looked hurried. They looked like they were working hard. But
Yeah.
it was a very mature performance by a team which is exactly that. They've matured together.
100%. And one man whose stock has risen beyond belief. The last time New Zealand were held triless.
Oh,
Remember what that was?
Yes. Yeah. 2017 Lions.
It was. And in terms of Northern Hemisphere sides, those are the only two times since the 1995 World Cup when New Zealand have been held triless. And both times, Andy Farrell has been marshalling that defence.
It's quite something, isn't it? It's quite something.
Farrell should take a huge amount of credit. Schmidt.
I love it. I'm sure some Irish fans will be going, "Oh, look at the English podcast, trying to get an Englishman late into it."
I think a performance like that is impossible just to pin it on one person.
Agreed.
It was a full 23-man effort. In terms of Farrell, one of the things I thought last night when a few people were flagging up the Farrell structures that created that or helped to create that defence, I thought, just how bad must Stuart Lancaster have been?
Yeah, it does. All roads do lead back to Burgess and Lancaster.
If Farrell is that good, which he evidently is, because, I mean, he's done it previously at Saracens, he's done it with the Lions, he's done it with Ireland. If he's that good, and England have unquestionably got a load of talented players as well, just what screwed it all up?
Well, where's Mike Catt now? Because
well, good question.
In Italy, isn't he?
He is. It's in Italy.
maybe we need to do some more digging around there.
Yeah, this performance by Ireland, and I don't mean this in any way critically. It wasn't. What's the right word? It wasn't exceptional. Well, no, it was exceptional, but it wasn't. I can't think of the right word. My point being, it was the epitome of a team. They don't make loads of clean breaks. They don't. They don't have huge flair attacking moves. They don't. They just apply so much pressure by doing everything basically, all the basics brilliantly and relentlessly.
Yeah, I guess what you're referring to was not a lack of attacking flair, because I guess the Stockdale try was, that was brilliant individual effort,
brilliant team play to set it up to give him that opportunity to do that, and what he did was incredible.
The second best young winger in Ireland.
The word I was thinking, they're not spectacular.
Oh, I don't know that. I mean, so
they're not a spectacular offensive. Apart,
that's not a criticism. It's actually a.
Yeah, but the game doesn't. That game, the magnitude of that game doesn't lend itself to spectacular rugby. You've got to go out there.
I think it is spectacular.
But the extension to that,
it depends on your definition of spectacular.
The extension to my point is one other team in my lifetime that wasn't spectacular but was incredibly talented and effective was the England 03 World Cup winning side.
So, yeah, I mean,
they were relentless. I mean, they had Jason Robinson with a couple of magical moments, but actually, the bulk of it was relentless pressure.
Kick chase, tackle,
horrible
kick chase.
pack.
Yeah, amazing set piece.
Yeah,
amazing.
Bigger,
drills.
harder. I mean, it's all about perspective, because I see those sort of performances as spectacular. I mean, I have no time for tries and that sort of stuff. And I tell you what. When Ireland looked like they were about to win, I asked Phil who scored the try for New Zealand, because it didn't feel like New Zealand were tryless.
Yeah.
It was quite something. Now, here is what I'd worry about. Have Ireland won their World Cup a year too soon?
Interesting. I don't think so. I think the way that team is set up, they are just improving. They're going from strength to strength. And they've got such a well-balanced team in terms of guys like Stockdale, like James Ryan, like Lama, who was on the bench.
Like Kieran Marmion, by the way.
Marmion.
And McGrath.
Young lad.
Yeah.
Ringrose, young lad. I mean, Ty Furlong, not an old head. So they've got those young lads who will only, in 12 months' time...
Josh van der Fleer.
Yeah. Dan Levy.
Yeah.
Who didn't even...
Robbie Henshaw. Conor Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Guys who will only be better in
Will
12
Addison.
months.
Well done, Jay.
So I'm not too worried about it. Now, if that game was a quarter-final or semi-final or even a final against New Zealand...
Well, it's either going to be a quarter-final or a final.
Okay.
They're
the
the options.
Okay.
Well,
but if,
someone pointed out to me that on Twitter that if New Zealand lose to South Africa, actually, could it not be the second round?
which is the quarter-final.
So
Oh, is it? Yeah,
in their
right,
pools,
with you.
if both New Zealand and Ireland finish top of their pools, they will meet in the final if they are still in the competition at that point.
Got
One
you.
finishes first.
If one's first and one's second, they will meet in the quarterfinal.
What a quarterfinal!
But you're gonna face South Africa. But you mentioned South Africa, and that's one thing that struck me: the difference between New Zealand's defeat in Wellington, because this is the second time they've been beaten in only a couple of months. The difference between the defeat in Wellington, which was really a freak occurrence.
New Zealand should have won that game.
New Zealand should have won that game
Yeah, but they
comfortably.
nearly lost again to South Africa. That's the thing. They were minutes away.
No, I get that, but the one that they did lose in Wellington, New Zealand only made 61 tackles.
That is amazing.
South Africa made 235 tackles. New
That
Zealand
is
only conceded
remarkable.
3 penalties. South Africa conceded 10.
Now-
Possession was mostly New Zealand, and South Africa still won it. But this win was
Legitimate.
legit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There was no. I mean, we spoke last week. Ireland are going to have to take all their chances. No, actually,
Yeah.
Ireland had to take a chance because as you talked about, their defence is as good as it gets.
Turns out it was New Zealand that needed to take all of the chances.
Yeah, and New Zealand did have a few chances, but
Did they drop one? Did I seem to remember them dropping something?
there was an offload. I can't remember when it was.
Squires,
second
maybe?
half where they offloaded it, and I think it went to Carney when they broke it
Yes, that was
down
one of
their
them.
left wing, and then there was the grubber kick through when Ben Smith is millimeters away, but an unbelievable.
Was it Stockers that grabs that one?
No, it was an unbelievable.
Oh, Peter O'Mahony.
Peter O'Mahony. Oh
He
my
injured
God.
himself in that,
No,
didn't
no,
he?
no.
So
Or just
Was it?
afterwards, he
it
got
was
injured.
shortly after that when he won a jackal.
Yeah, that's
he then
right.
collapsed to his.
He won a turnover and then went off.
He couldn't stand up.
He couldn't stand up.
It
Well,
was-
hang on.
There was one moment you realised he couldn't stand up. The final whistle. There's
Yeah.
a brilliant shot of the bench. He forgot he was injured. Tried to
yeah.
stand up, and then you just saw his face go, ah!
Now, here's a thought I had walking the dog this morning when thinking about this Ireland game. How many of those games can you actually play in a career? It can't be many, can it? And I don't mean the standard or the atmosphere. I mean just the physical toll on the body. Because after about, I'd say 30 minutes, I was like, this must be setting records for effort expended players in a game.
I wish there was a way of calculating, some way of
Like
some little chip,
heartbeats or something.
yeah, a heartbeat, or like some way of a chip on
G-force
your
of
body.
collisions.
Yeah, G-force of collisions, and have like a total score for force or
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to all the concussion and safeguarding stuff, which is like sport can be safe because there's 30 men there.
No, of course,
It
it's
can never
rugby
just-
union. We shouldn't try. We shouldn't. It should be safe within the constraints of it's not safe.
It's not safe.
We're mitigating the damage
Yeah.
that we can do. We're not
It were-
eradicating the damage because you're not going to. Peter O'Mahony, heroic. He was, and I've.
So which one am I
absolute-
thinking of? Was it like an interception by the scrum half from the line out, and then he kind of gets all the way back? I thought one of scrum halves that manages to intercept something.
I'm pretty sure you're thinking Peter O'Mahony.
I probably am.
the grubber kick through Barrett for Ben Smith
and
coming
Ben
through
Smith's
in the corner.
about to grab it and score.
Yeah, and
Plucks it out of
Peter
nowhere.
O'Mahony, who did so alongside every single player on that Ireland team, And also on the New Zealand team, that the New Zealand worked. They were forced to work phenomenally hard, and they did work phenomenally hard. I mean, so Ryan Crotty and James Ryan both topped the tackle counts with 20 each. But there's a whole host of players, like half a dozen plus players, all in double figures on tackles from both sides.
One of them, by the
hard.
way, Luke McGrath, on for 20 minutes, was the 6th highest tackler.
Amazing.
10 tackles. He just came on the scrum half and just put himself about big time.
You've got to, haven't you? You've got to.
Yeah.
Tell me this, Tim. Have you ever been part of a team who's pretty much won everything in a season?
We got the Berkshire Sporting Newbury Weekly News Team of the Season when I was under 8s because we won everything. We went unbeaten the whole.
So
nice. It's comparable with Ireland this year, I think.
Pretty comparable, yeah. The Newbury under 8s, but have I ever been in a team that's won pretty much everything? No.
So I was thinking about the New Zealand loss, okay, because I've been in teams which have been pretty good, pretty dominant throughout the season. You think you're good, you're on like a 10-game winning streak, and then to lose, and how awful it feels. And losing doesn't feel that bad always, but if you think you're really good, and that's sort of like how your identity is, and then you lose, that must be absolutely gut-churning.
In that Newbury under 8s mini rugby season where we went unbeaten the whole year, in fact, it wasn't unbeaten. There was one game we lost, and it was in the final of a tournament, and we lost to Work after extra time. Exactly. So me and Kieran, give me a call.
Yeah. Well, there's chats in the papers, and Phil had mentioned this yesterday. Kieran Reid might be one of the guys that New Zealand might have to look to move on.
So I was chatting to a guy I work with who's from Christchurch, big Saders fan, and he was saying that Kieran Reid might be the guy who he's getting a bit over the hill. He's had problems with injuries. He's not as athletic and dynamic as he once was. Remember a few
player on earth
4 years ago, but best player on earth doing the hard yards, but also one of the best players on
wide channels
in the 13 channel.
Yeah,
he was.
He's not quite there, but so I think they will keep him round because of his leadership, because of his decision making.
He's captain, isn't he?
He is captain. He made He made 17 tackles, missed none yesterday. He's a line-out option because he is 6'4". So I don't think he will, but he's just a different player. And back to the point we always make about back rows, you've got to have the balance of the back row. So it means maybe you've got to play someone who's a bit more of a heavy traffic ball carrier at 6, like a Squizey, and you need someone a bit more explosive like an Ardy Surveyor at 7.
Yeah.
A few observations before we get into any more technicalities. I just while it's on my head. Firstly, you mentioned New Zealand. The haircuts of New Zealand players. Talk about analogous. Them and Exeter Chiefs. What is it about New Zealand? Is it both quite rural?
Yeah.
Sparsely populated. Probably takes a while for fashions to catch up to the current day.
There is a direct correlation between bad haircuts and poor internet connection because they simply can't keep.
Yeah, Ted Hill spent all that time in the Worcester Academy House. He looked sharp.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So there's that. Also, the Island kit. It's got the weird detail down the side. Almost looks like water bubbles. It looked like if Aquaman's pants are made of the same material as Ireland's shirt.
No, I'm only familiar with Aquaman via the medium of Entourage. So,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's now a movie as well.
Is it?
The
right.
Aquaman from Entourage. Oh, what's his name? Ari Gold.
Yeah.
What a legend. Why can't he be... Oh, man. Yeah, we need more Ari Gold in our life. Yeah. And also, you mentioned Stockers. He is now... what was it? Stockers is... What's the stat?
Nearly as good as Jordan Loma.
He is. He's had 14 Ireland caps. He is currently the 15th highest try scorer for Ireland in history.
Wow. Good effort.
It's so good.
That is a great effort.
The most amazing, I can't remember who mentioned this on Twitter, so I can't give credit, but someone pointed out that a couple of minutes before the try, he tried a chip over the top, and it was charged down by, it was either Retallick or Whitelock, that almost led to a try in the opposite direction.
Yes.
So fair play for him for
Sticking at it.
yeah, correct, recognizing that, correcting it, trying it again. Because a lot of players were just, oh, I'm not going to try this. I'm just going to carry it in. Tried it, executed it, and what a try!
And on that try, someone else, nondescript person on Twitter that I can't credit, but I remember reading it, and then I've since watched a little video clip of it. That move that led to that, so from the line out, off the top to midfield, looks like they're going right, and Bundyaki comes back, jars to the left, and it's back to the left winger. Exactly the same move was used, and almost successfully, but not successfully, against Romania in the last World Cup. So that's a move. That's not even a Joe Schmidt move. That's been in Ireland's
An Ireland move.
That's been in Ireland's playbook before a lot of these players were even playing for the side.
But the key there was actually the chip, because I remember running moves like that when I was playing, and you were hoping that all the forwards, all the pack will overchase. You're kind of hoping that every single one of the pack is like Michael Hooper and like really athletic, but it never happens. You end up with a few of the heavier guys staying put, and so you end up with a winger running kind of 3-on-1 against 3 tight 5 forwards. So it never worked. But what they did, what Ireland have clearly recognised, is that it doesn't really matter as long as the fullback overchases, because that way, that's where the space is in behind.
It was Ben Smith actually that overchased. But Ben Smith was dropped back for the kick option,
so he's kind of playing the fullback.
He gassed up to the line and created all the space for Stockdale to exploit. And he didn't need to. He didn't need to chase it as hard as he did. He could have left it. So, but yeah, brilliant, amazing execution. So,
yeah, and just one last thing on this game. Where is Brodie Retallick in the list of the world's greatest locks?
I think it's very difficult to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, so
I think there's probably half a dozen locks who are all vying for that number 1 spot, and on any given performance, anyone could look at.
You mean currently, like
currently
playing the game? Oh, he's number 1.
Do you reckon? So
yeah.
Again, more dog walking thoughts.
I thought you meant of all time.
No. Currently playing. I don't think there is a greatest lock in the world at the moment, because if you think about it, like, he is amazing. But he's probably not as physical as Etzebeth. Or he's, there's people. He might be the best all rounder, but he's not maybe the best. I think there might be a group of like 3 or 4 lads who are joint the best, depending on the situation. But he's absolutely phenomenal either way.
Yeah, he is. I think there are multiple. He, maybe because of what he's done, and his CV is probably the best. But is he that much better? Well, is he better in the tight than Etzebeth? Is he more athletic all round than someone like Itoje?
Yeah.
Is he a better destructive defender than Laws?
Where's he rank next to Alan Wynne-Jones? Something like that.
And the two guys, like, how good? So both James Ryan and Tona.
Tona was immense.
Tona's been on the bench for the last year. Comes back in and does that.
Tona was incredible. And there was one hit on that those two put in on Retallick. Speaking of Retallick, where first Tona wraps him up, and then James Ryan just smashes him, and they carry him back 4 or 5 meters. It's just amazing.
Oh, yeah, one of those rare games where you have total and utter respect for everyone that played for it.
I forgot a couple of things. Did you see at the start of the Channel 4 programme the Irish players lip syncing?
No.
So I did. I rewatched.
It was hilarious.
I rewatched the game today while I was cooking, and I did see that.
They weren't doing it with a lot of enthusiasm, were
Well,
they?
I can only imagine some Channel 4 kind of
Producer,
runner or
whatever.
someone has said, "Can you lip sync this? Can you sing this?" And they just all said, "No, absolutely not."
And then
I'll read it.
Yeah, you're contractually obliged to do what we ask.
Hang on,
Because
okay.
they overwhelmingly used Rory Best, so he was the one that obviously got the most enthusiastic about
What
it.
on earth are we talking about?
They were lip syncing along to a song.
I don't know what song it was.
I don't know what song it was, but at the start of to open up, the first thing you saw before you had any presenter or anything, it was a little video VT bit of the Ireland players lip syncing to a song.
Why?
I don't know. Don't question
Why not?
Channel 4. Channel
Why
4
not?
Rugby. If they've showed us that game, let's never question it ever again.
Fine.
And also, one of my favourite bits about it, the noise, the cacophony of noise. I can't imagine what it must have been like being in that Aviva Stadium when that try was scored.
And the end.
and the end. But what was amazing was the contrast between the noise. I really love it.
Yeah, it's proper rugby venue, the Aviva.
And one other person I think deserves a lot of credit. I just sort of touched on it there, Rory Best. I don't think that guy gets the credit he deserves. That's 2 times he's captained the Ireland side to a Grand Slam and then followed it up with beating New Zealand. He's done it twice now.
I thought you were going to say Wayne Barnes.
I was going to say Wayne Barnes. That is what I'm going to say. Wayne Barnes.
Yes.
Wayne Barnes deserves a lot of credit.
He let a lot of stuff go, though, didn't he?
He did let a lot of stuff go. The one... So there was the challenge, the Carney challenge on... was it Mackenzie?
Was it McKenzie? Yeah, it was D-Mac, yeah.
There was that.
Yeah, and that's one of the consequences of all the stuff that's been around in the laws and all the newspaper columns and all the podcasts like ours talking about laws for the last however long and the last couple of years and all these controversial things and all this concussion stuff and people like Alison Pollock means, unfortunately, the Irish crowd were amazing. They were baying for blood on a couple of occasions.
Are we going back? Are we going to go after the Irish?
There was a seatbelt tackle on by Liam Squire, right? Just a regulation seatbelt tackle. Didn't hit the head. It was a bit high, penalty only. They were booing and they booing when it was a penalty only. Like, oh, I can't believe he gave a yellow card. And then, funnily enough, dead silent when Rob Carney tackled D-Mac in the air. If that was the other way round,
but they're allowed to be partisan.
No. It's fine. But if that was the other way round, we would never have heard the end. If the scores had been reversed,
that's their job.
We would never have heard the end of. I can't believe that was only if the Rob Carney D-Mac thing had been the other way around. So
I
so
like
the other thing,
creating a hostile atmosphere.
Yeah,
good for them.
But the way New Zealand have taken the defeat, their fans and stuff online, it's been brilliant.
Has it?
Yeah, they've been great. They've been great.
Don't know.
And the players and the coaches, they've been so New Zealand never amazed me how classy they are.
I'm not
whether they're
that.
sweeping up dressing rooms or whether they're losing with dignity. They're so humble.
My all-time favourite classy New Zealand moment was Kieran Reid about to win the Lions test. Turns on Sam Warburton and goes, "Hey mate, that's just rugby, eh?" And then the ref turns around and goes, "Actually, it's off. It's what do we say? It's a scrum." And then all of a sudden, Kieran goes, "What? What, sir?
No, sir.
What? This isn't it. No, what?" Yeah. So
Well, no, I've got. They are humble and classy, and actually,
they're not humble.
No, wait.
Humble.
Wait, no, but hear me out on this because they're they're exactly humble and classy and dignified and in the way that Exeter Chiefs are, and maybe there is an inverse relationship between humility and haircuts.
And
maybe it is a graph. As haircuts get worse, humility gets higher, and maybe that's because when you look in the mirror at that monstrosity every day.
See, I would love to think that you were right there, but I can't. I imagine the haircut's actually come from this place where literally you've not been criticised for so long, and nobody criticises you.
No one
even
dares
when you
criticise you.
Yeah, even when you show up with these stupid haircuts like Brodie Retallick does, because he's not been told anything different for so long now, he just thinks he can cut his hair however he wants.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I will slightly. Well, no, I will defend the Irish on Twitter a little bit. There were some.
There is not one homogenous group called the Irish on Twitter. It's ludicrous.
Tim's attacking them.
I'm not attacking them. I'm not attacking them at all.
It certainly came across that way.
One generic Irish group.
No, I'm saying it's Wayne Barnes did a brilliant job. He made some calls that had it been reversed, we would never have heard the end of it.
Yeah, okay.
That's the point I made. And I'd say that's a fairly factual statement based on the evidence of decisions in the past.
But then you went on to say how amazingly humble and respectful.
Yeah, well, because New Zealand fans haven't been bleating about refereeing decisions.
The homogenous group of New Zealanders.
So the implication there is that the Irish fans have been bleating
in the past when they miss out on losses. Do you not remember the week after Chicago?
No.
When Ireland just lost to New Zealand.
I do. I remember.
Oh my God, Twitter was ridiculous. Anyway. That's my standard weekly Twitter rant. No, but you talk about Ireland. Some of their journalists are funny, and this is one. What was the guy's name?
No, you got to talk about Rob Kitson this week.
This guy. I'll what's his name? It's not George Horn. Anyway, I'll get the name.
George Hook.
George Hook. George Hook wrote in May the 30th, 2016, when Joe Schmidt had been appointed as the Ireland head coach and led Leinster to defeat against Connacht in the Pro 12 final. George Horn wrote. Is that right?
George Hook.
George Hook wrote, Schmidt may well be the worst coach in Irish rugby history.
Wow.
Yesterday exposed the paucity of his thinking, the authoritarian approach by the national coach, has, whatever, I can't read my own writing, has led to the demise of leadership. Ireland travelled to South Africa in 2 weeks for a 3-test series. One wonders what the Irish rugby public expect. I do not know what they want, but I know what they will get.
Wow.
I wonder what he's going to be saying today.
Well, that's why not everyone who comments on rugby has their own hashtag, Downfall 2018. So, look, we can all make outrageous predictions, but not all of us can be correct. Sorry about that, George.
George Hook is the...
he got fired.
He's the Irish equivalent of Stephen Jones, isn't he?
I'm not sure. I know he got fired. I think
Is that
he did
not Neil
radio.
Francis these days?
Maybe they're both vying for the that coveted position.
Yeah, they're in a running gun battle with Stephen Jones for the worst rugby writer on earth.
Most belligerent rugby writer on earth.
Yes.
He's actually a very good writer.
Reluctantly, he is.
Just one thing on the referee. The one decision that I think that Wayne Barnes did get wrong was the Whitelock offside lying down intercept.
Oh yeah,
where he slapped the ball from the air. So he was offside. He was on the ground, so he shouldn't have played it. And I think there is definitely an argument to say it was a deliberate knock on.
Yeah, I agree with all those things.
All three of those. And Wayne Barnes just gave a penalty, which, interesting.
It's interesting with all of everything we've been going through in the European Cup and all the red cards and the cards being chucked around like confetti. There hasn't been a red card in lots of internationals. And I think and I'm glad of that. And it's upset some fans, and they talk about we want consistency, and I do get that. However, going back to one of the first things I said on this podcast, where this is a shop window for a lot of people, let's not just have cards chucked around. The way it's been refereed in the autumn internationals, broadly speaking, is how I want the game refereed across the board.
Yeah.
But you also have players who they're at the top of their game. They understand the ins and outs of the law, and they're better coming to terms with the way that the law is being officiated now. So I can't think of too many contentious decisions that would have led to a red card, really.
But Khaleesi, against Scotland,
Red. It wasn't seen though.
I saw it on TV. I'm amazed.
That should be a red.
Yeah.
If anything's going to be a red card, that should be a red.
Yeah, it should be a red. And the guy holding him on the floor should get a yellow for cynically holding a player on the floor.
Yep. All right. So why don't we move on to what in comparison was basically just regional rugby. After
well, everything.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to be the same again, GB.
Nothing's the same. We're in a post-Ireland world now. After Tim tells you about Cornerstone, of course.
Cornerstone.co.uk/Eggchasers for your amazing offer of the best razors we believe you can get. Hey, listen, Christmas around the corner. You might have a dad. I tell you what, Dad. Take care of Dad. Dads are the hardest people to get Christmas presents for.
Yep.
That's true.
It is.
Or your brother. Or your missus who's always nicking your razor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get an engraved aluminium shaft with their 6 Cornerstone razors in a lovely presentation box, wrapped up.
Beautiful.
That'll look perfect under the tree. And do you know what? Because you listen to us, we can make sure you get that for just £4. There's other stuff you can get from cornerstone.co.uk. However, if you stick with us, £4 for that amazing offer. You'll see why we love it. There's no obligation, but we think you'll want to carry on as well. So sort yourself out first, and then sort your loved ones out for Christmas. Cornerstone.co.uk/Eggchasers or
Egg 10 at checkout. Just remember, the trips to Monaco do rack up in cost.
They certainly do.
You must go buy some Cornerstone razors.
So does the thousands of quid's worth of kit in the rugby dungeon right now.
Yes.
Very true.
That's true.
So, Johnny Sexton, World Rugby Player of the Year next week.
Faf de Klerk.
Johnny Sexton.
Well, we need to give him an Eggchasers tie because that's what World Player of the Year gets nowadays.
It does. You're going to be surprised. Have you at how tall he is? He's taller than all of us.
6'2", 6'3".
He's about 6'3". I reckon he's just probably got a centimetre on me and you, JB.
Bloody hell.
Also, right, similar but different question. If you had to pick if you could pick a World 15, who would be your fly half? It's a different question, but kind of the same.
Sexton.
You pick Sexton.
I would.
Would you have Bowden Barrett in your side?
I would definitely on the bench, possibly at 15.
Sexton.
Yeah, New Zealand looked better when he was at 15.
Pollard has impressed me this season. Yeah, Sexton.
Now, if you, who would you have?
I think I would go Bowden Barrett.
Would you?
Yeah.
Bowden Barrett did score. Was it 5 tries
What
in
about
one
Farrell? Anyone go for Farrell?
game?
He'd be close.
He would be close. I think Farrell and Sexton are very similar. I would have Sexton over Farrell. I
Yes,
would do.
agreed. So, but yeah, so
If you were listening to or watching BT Sport on Friday night, you would think that only one man could do that job.
Only one man can do that job.
Danny Cipriani.
Danny Cipriani, of course.
Because every single time he touched the ball, even when he wasn't touching the ball, it seemed like there was only one player on the pitch. I know we're talking about Premiership.
we'll talk
later.
about that in the Premiership pod. But it was similar to, you would think that the prep sheet for Sky Sports on Saturday, England v Japan, was only two things to talk about today. World Cup's in Japan next year.
Yep.
And Japan beat South Africa in
That's
the last
it.
World Cup. That's all you need to know. But I can understand, again, going back to that original point, that this is a shop window. Those are important things to convey.
Well, first and foremost on Japan, they are bloody good at rugby. I mean, like, they're just the basic skills of moving. I mean, they move as well, if not better, than anyone else I've seen all weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, their individual skill set.
Unreal.
Yeah.
They are going to give someone an absolute hiding, and it might not be a tier 1 team, but whoever's in that group up against them, good God, I mean, they can really play.
So much fun to watch, aren't they?
Yeah, like it used to be a case that the tier 2s would be so vastly outclassed by everyone else. Not anymore.
Well,
Not anymore at all.
they're ranked 11 in the world at the minute. So where does tier 1 extend to?
It's not quite Japan. It's not quite Georgia.
Yeah. It's everyone. Well, I always think of it as
It's not quite Italy.
Rugby Championship plus Six Nations.
Yeah.
With then a question mark. A genuine
So 9.
question mark.
So you've got
over,
9. You've got 9
over to-
genuine tier 1 teams.
Yes.
Yes.
That's where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And
I'm
then
with you.
Italy are borderline. Georgia and Japan are pushing for it.
Yeah, particularly Japan. I mean, goodness me.
And they're doing that in the context of £13 a day to live on.
Well, I don't know is the answer.
I think they were staying at the Lensbury at the England were putting them up in the Lensbury. There you go, have a few days here.
Hang on, who?
Oh no, New Zealand.
Who
Yeah.
foots the bill
I
for the
don't know.
tour?
I guess this World Rugby probably have money
No,
for that.
I'm sure. Don't the host nation foot the bill for the
Don't know.
It doesn't really matter.
But 25 grand for the game match fee versus 13 quid a day.
But it's always the same narrative every year because England are the best paid team in the world, or at least I think they are. If not, they're up there, right? So narrative every year is because they give one game a year to a tier 2. The instant focus is, oh look at these full-time professionals who are the best, or some of the best in the world at their craft. Look what they get compared to these guys. And it sort of always goes back to, come on, England, give them some more money.
No,
and the answer is
no.
no, you can't. So I'm not actually...
Exactly. We want to keep the Brad Shields and the Nathan Hugheses
Exactly.
and Dylan Hartley's cup. No, not Dylan Hartley, that's different.
And the Michael
very
Leaches.
Yes.
And
the Bundy Ackies.
And the Bundy Ackies, yeah.
And the Gareth Ainscombs.
Correct. So it's the inevitable...
WP Nell.
The inevitable yearly chat, isn't it, about how much England get paid, and good for them.
Back to the game.
Yes.
Yeah, Japan are legitimately good. England, I think, might have underestimated them a tiny bit.
Which is astonishing, considering Eddie Jones.
Well, what did Eddie Jones say in midweek? Like,
They better go to the temple and pray.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why?
I guess they did.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. A bit disrespectful. They are very well coached. Is Tony Brown attack coach there?
Don't know.
Well,
So Jamie Joseph as head coach.
I got a feeling Tony Brown is, but don't quote me on that. But they're just, they're so inventive. But obviously, I don't want to talk about Japan because I want to talk about the lack of missed tackles between.
Oh God, here we go.
Ford and
The continuation of the issue with Owen Farrell's defence. Go on, what are you saying about this week then? Because Owen Farrell not selected, George Ford selected at 10, Alex Lazowski at 12.
And they made most of their tackles amazingly. So I assume England must have chosen a different defensive strategy to play Japan, which didn't require a lot of missed tackles.
Which is called not playing New Zealand.
Yeah, it does help not playing New Zealand.
And all the other games that Owen Farrell's played. But anyway, the point was about Owen Farrell. It was last week I mentioned this, and the world imploded because.
Yeah, it is interesting actually, and this again, for anyone that doubts, not that anyone would doubt, for anyone doubts the influence of Eggchasers, we lead, others follow.
Yeah,
because in the wake of our podcast, which was there on a Monday morning, there was a whole week's worth of articles about it get mentioned in the wake of the game.
No, and I will also mention this, which is I've been talking about it for 3 years, or at least 2.
3 years,
about 2. About 2, I'd say. Okay, but there is some really good analysis on Owen Farrell as to why he misses tackles. I think you're a fan of this on your team. That it's about the positive outcome.
You got to take it in context.
There is a context.
Yeah, so it's okay to miss 11 missed tackles if it's all for a positive reason.
Well, no, see, I don't think it's okay. I don't think it's ever okay to miss 11 tackles. But you have to look at each one in context.
For example, Owen Farrell last week had one missed tackle chalked up because he was running behind Henry Slade to try and make up for the fact...
Who himself is a missed tackle expert.
Well, Henry Slade made one missed 5 in this game. Just gone. But Owen Farrell was working so hard, he ran behind Henry Slade to try and tackle the New Zealand player when he went through and scored, and I can't remember who actually missed the tackle to let him through. Ben Teo had missed the tackle. D-Mac went through. Owen Farrell was working so hard, he managed to get like a fingertip to the shoulder of D-Mac.
Yep.
That went up as a missed tackle. No other player on the field would have even would have been working so hard that they'd have run behind one of their own players to try and get closer.
Agreed. So we've had Owen Farrell misses tackles because he works harder than everyone else.
True.
But Owen Farrell misses tackles because he's been told to miss tackles. We've had Owen Farrell misses tackles because it ends up in a good result anyway.
It's a system.
It's a system thing. So I've actually come to the conclusion that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe after all. So here is a list of bad decisions I've made with positive outcomes. rolling, and so
we're doing donuts or something.
No, a little bit too fast, a little bit icy. Flipped into a field and nose over end. Started rolling.
Nose over end.
Yep, like that, and then started rolling, rotating down a hill, down a cliff face.
What?
Is that positive?
Well, because I didn't go down a cliff.
Oh, okay.
Got on a zip wire whilst I was drunk.
You were very drunk.
Got
on the zip wire?
Yeah, bad decision. Got impaled through my back. 8 millimetres away from my spine.
Yep.
Good outcome. Not paralysed. But positive outcome. Ended up with a C in maths.
And you've got a good job, nice house, nice family.
Exactly. So I think we should all look at our lives now through the lens of Owen Farrell analysis.
I'm not sure all those positive outcomes are that positive.
Yeah,
I've got a genuine one. Let go from my job and replaced by Chris Moyles.
Yeah.
Gave me a kick up the backside. I wouldn't have been doing the BT Sports stuff.
Exactly right, mate.
That is a good one.
So that's a classic Owen Farrell. You did a classic
Owen
Farrell. You
Farrelled it.
Yeah. I've got loads here. Getting caught by my mum's friend driving her car while she's on holiday before I pass my test. I've got falling through a shop window and getting arrested.
Where's the positive outcome element?
You're
just giving us
bad things that happen.
So the positive outcome you don't know where I was going in that car. That would be that would be the positive outcome there. Yeah, I've got loads. I've got loads. I've completely farrelled that one.
On this game, Owen Farrell came on,
Yep.
and England didn't concede a point after he was on the field. And Owen Farrell's defensive stats in this game, which is a fair
7-1,
which is a fair context to compare Lazowski and George Ford, 7-1.
7-1.
So in context,
Which is about the same ratio as Lazowski and Noel, who started in the...
this is where there's a Lazowski. One of his missed tackles was a tackle he should never have, that led to a try. And you tell me a tackle that Farrell's missed where someone's walked through for a try. I mean, I know I'm not saying it hasn't happened, because undoubtedly it will have happened. But anyway, there's my point. And actually, interestingly, I thought out of this game, that one person that I think there's more of a question mark above their head now is Alex Lazowski.
Yeah, well, neither Lazowski or Noel had particularly good performances in that first half playing in the centre.
Lazowski to me is a 10, right? But should be playing 13. Or should I say, he's a 13 but can play 10. No, I think he's a great 13.
He is a great
Play him at 13.
Yeah, I didn't like the centre lineup when I saw it.
No, no, forget it. Just no. He's a winger. Like, why is not a clamour from Exeter fans to see the same thing? There must be a reason. I mean, they see it more than us.
Yeah.
So actually, that is a genuine question. If you are an Exeter fan and you want to see him at centre, let me know. I'd be interested to know your thoughts.
Yeah, and why?
Yeah. Cogan Singer did well.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of the ball.
No, reasonable.
Finished his try well, was involved nice little interplay for the care try, the first try.
Yeah. I mean, I think looking at this, right, it just makes me think that England are... Okay, forget the traditional tier 1s, tier 2s. I'm using it in a slightly different context. Tier 1 is New Zealand and Ireland, and then England are solidly in that next tier. I mean, I don't know how good they are in that next tier. Are they the best of the rest? Probably not.
Yeah,
But,
probably not.
You know, there's a tier of about 4 or 5 teams there who are all just as good as each other and could beat anyone on any given day.
Agreed.
But they're a million miles away from Ireland and New Zealand.
And I think what's shaping up, and hopefully after the Australia game it works the same, I think there's less question marks than there were a few weeks ago, which is a real positive for England. Not ideal, not where we want to be. We wanted to have pushed on in the way that Ireland have. But that hasn't happened. But there's a bit of momentum building.
England feel like they've stabilised a bit to me.
A little bit, yes, agreed. Although there's still a few question marks I have. Elliot Daly, still not convinced.
As a 15.
Still not convinced.
No,
The only way you're going to get convinced is more game time. And the problem is, he needs lots of game time at Wasps.
Well,
and he's not really going to get it because of Willie LaRue.
Mike Brown, for all of his shortcomings, and he's getting older, he's getting slower, blah 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 blah. He has had many hours at fullback. He's had a whole career there.
He was England's best player in South Africa.
Yeah, on the wing,
playing on the wing, which was,
Him and Johnny May.
They did
both.
They did kind of interchange as well with him playing on the wing.
So, fullback, I just don't get it for Elliot Daly. Elliot Daly is a really good electric winger. He's the sort of guy you just need on the field, and if that means hiding him on the wing, so be it.
But
And plus, if you wanted
could have played, why not play him at 13?
I know, if you want to
Rather than
experiment with an
Noel.
auxiliary 13 that could go in there for a World Cup.
Put
He's
Daly
got a
there.
career's body of work
Yeah.
at 13.
Yeah.
And Jack Noel has played plenty at fullback or in the back three. So anyway, there's still a few question marks, but
Yeah. Ed, you did not like the selection of Ted Hill? Did you, Sim?
no, I didn't. Not because I don't think he's a really exciting prospect and a very, very good 19-year-old player, but just I really think pulling on that jersey and wearing the rose. Did he come on? I didn't watch the end of the
He
game.
did come on, yeah.
So he's made his debut. So he is an England international. He's got a number on that list of England internationals, and I just think it devalues what pulling on the rose means because he has not earned that.
No, it's hard to say.
He's an incredibly exciting player. Don't get me wrong, and they've seen him in training. And I'm sure they trust him and stuff. He hasn't earned that rose in the way that I want an England player to have
like
earned that
Mark
rose.
Wilson has after 5 years of grafting and throwing his head
Yeah,
into
he's
rucks.
played. He hasn't even played double figures of senior matches.
The only thing I would say on that, I largely agree with everything you said there. But the only thing I would add to it is Eddie's one of his things he is really great at is this talent idea. I keep saying it, but presumably people were saying that about Matt Gitto.
Well, he's an England international before Marcus Smith is.
Yeah, but
Marcus Smith has been starting for Harlequins for the last 2 seasons.
he gave a cap to Matt Gitto before he'd played a senior game. Full stop.
Yeah.
You know?
I get it, and I don't
Yeah.
doubt that Ted Hill's going to be great. I don't want it to be construed that I'm being negative on Ted Hill, because I'm absolutely not. The guy's going to be a really fantastic player.
Did he?
But I really, really, really I dislike him getting a cap less than I dislike project players, but just a bit below.
Really? Did Eddie discover Genge? What I mean, like, was he the one that called him up, or was that Lancaster?
Ooh.
The baby rhino.
Because you've got Genge, he came from nowhere. He was from Bristol. Then in the squad, you got Hill. You got Marcus Smith, who feels like he's part of the furniture now in terms of Premiership appearances. But actually, a year ago, he was pretty much unknown. I'm trying to think of others now. Gary Graham.
Gary Graham.
Gary Graham.
Scotland player Gary Graham.
Oh, good on you, Gary. Well done.
To be fair, he called Eddie Jones and said, "I'm going to do this," and fair enough, absolutely fair enough. And I think it's the decision he should have made originally, because he thinks of himself as Scottish. His dad played for Scotland. I understand he's from a really working class, humble background, and I totally understand the attraction of 25 bags a game. But this is what it's about. He should have. The heart would have been originally Scotland.
That and alleged. Well, I've got a text here. Would you want me to read this text?
Yeah, go on.
So, it just says, do you know the story about Gary Graham and Eddie? ? And I've said, yeah, amazing. Then I've read it and I went, no, sorry, I misread that. Tell me. So Gary Graham gets to Penny Hill and is walking down the corridor.
Before you do this, is this fair to say on a podcast?
Well, I'm not going to tell you who sent it, but
it's not incriminating to anyone, is it?
Well, we'll find out.
Okay.
Gary Graham gets to Penny Hill and is walking down the corridor. Eddie walks past and he says, sorry, and he says hello, calls him by the wrong name. Gary corrects him, and Eddie says, "I didn't pick you." Now, if that is true, if that is even remotely true,
It can't be true, can it?
Surely not.
I don't
Surely
know.
Eddie has
Well,
he's
100% total control over that squad.
Can you remember when he got picked? And the stories around him being picked were, well, first of all, who is he?
Yeah.
Right? That was the first thing.
He's only played half a dozen times for Newcastle at that stage,
he had
from Jersey.
He had one touch of a ball against someone in the European Cup, and that was it. So there was that. And then there was the noises about England getting annoyed that other countries were poaching their academy products.
Yeah.
And then there was Ben Vellacott,
Yeah.
who's Scottish through and through, getting called up to the England training squad.
Yeah.
So we did actually say at the time, this does sound a little bit political. And I think it might have been. And it's come back to bite them.
Well, it hasn't, because they could have picked him if they wanted him.
Yeah.
So fair play, Gary Graham. Go get your caps.
And get your stash.
Well, yeah.
Get your stash as well. My God, yeah. Check out eBay. That'll
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
the England
By the
stuff will be
way,
up there soon.
The irony of him not getting in, because Skinner was playing, is not lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good all round for everyone, I think.
Yes. So, but let this be a lesson, people of dual nationality or dual options when it comes to playing rugby. Think very carefully about statements you make publicly, because they could bite you in the ass. Because one thing Gary Graham did say when he was playing for England, they went, so obviously you could have chosen Scotland, but you chose England. And he said, yeah, for me, anything less than playing for England is a failure. Quote
no.
Gary Graham.
Hey, he might still think that.
He's not yet played for Scotland, so he could always go back
No,
again.
the quote he said now, this week, is, quote, "I've always wanted to play for Scotland."
I tell you what, it wouldn't it be amazing if he's got like Welsh ancestry,
Yeah.
and then he gets called up to Wales or Ireland.
Yeah.
Come on.
He doesn't get a Scotland cap.
Yeah, Banahan should have done the full tour for Stash before actually
before
playing his
actually
first
picking.
England game.
Yeah.
'Cause he's born in Jersey.
Yeah, what he could have done. So he goes Scotland squad, then the Ireland squad, Wales squad, and just right before the game, just do a Dan Levy, full body sauna.
Yeah.
Oh, full body, which, by the way,
Undisclosed full body
got
sauna.
one particular journalist very worked up. Did you see this?
I saw one tweet from Kitson.
Oh, he was furious.
Oh yeah, because Ireland are now. Well, this is following on from Conor Murray.
Yeah.
Ireland are not disclosing any information about
Good, it's their own
injuries to
information.
Ireland's players.
But what about the fans, Tim? What about the fans? I
Yeah.
don't understand that argument at all. If they don't want to give their medical history, that is their... if they can't play, they can't play. And that's all you need
Yeah,
to
but
know.
all they need to say is, it's a thigh.
Generic
He
tightness.
pulled out in training. It hurt his thigh.
Yeah, exactly.
We're waiting for scans. But it's a bit odd going, we're not discussing anything to do with the medical situation of our players. It is a bit odd.
Well,
I do find it a bit odd because it's like ultra protective. Who's going to use that information?
I would use it.
How?
Depends what the injury is.
Okay, it's a knee injury.
Knee injury or foot injury, target the foot.
Would you though?
Yeah, I think so.
And okay, then put yourself in the physio looking after Dan Levy.
Okay.
You're going to make sure he's back at full strength.
Yeah.
So what good is targeting the foot?
Sorry, sorry. Are you asking me how I would use that information as what?
So first of all, I was asking you
As
the
an opposition player?
opposition, yeah. And
Yeah.
then secondly, if you're a physio, are you going to let him go out if there's any weakness?
No, of course you're not. Well,
So,
you might.
so
you
why?
might,
So the information is useless.
but you might do. You might do.
Would you?
There's
I mean,
plenty-
look, it's my information. If I don't want it getting out, that'll be that. And I'm completely on
some of the
player's side.
speculation is it's all to do with insurance.
It might be. But then you've got to declare it on your insurances anyway.
I know,
So,
we talked about
yeah.
this before. So
Yeah.
And I
I-
thought,
I-
is it like if they're looking for the one thing I thought of with the Conor Murray, not this Levy one, was the Alex Corbisiero when Brian Smith, the
Yeah, that's
London
good
Irish
one, this.
coach, when he left London Irish to go to Northampton, said he has got a degenerative knee injury, and he played a couple more seasons and packed it in. That was the only thing. So if there was something that was like long term, a chronic problem, that's when you wouldn't want it out. If it's an ankle or a wrist or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it made me worry a bit about the Conor Murray issue. Would be something of that magnitude.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
But then I guess if you then take the stance that you're not going to disclose any information about anyone, you take that whole degenerative thing out of there.
I just wouldn't. If I was in the mood to tell you, I'd tell you. If I wasn't, I wouldn't, and that'd be that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Your information, do with it what you want.
Just before we leave the England-Japan, I know we're bouncing about a bit. England-Japan game, I just want to say how good Michael Leach was.
Oh my word.
And it is a bit of a travesty that, and Nick Mullins said it is now protocol that the winning team, a player from the winning team has to be man of the match.
That is actually explicit.
That's what Nick Mullins tweeted.
I know that is generally what happens because you don't want to have the Joe Launchbury
Yeah.
Or
against
Michael
Wales. You just lost. There you go.
Yeah.
Just smile with your medal.
Joe Launchbury and I think Michael Hooper did one against England, perhaps, where in the
Michael Hooper or David Pocock?
it's basically the same person,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
to me. Yeah, so I can understand where it's almost for tier 1 nations. It should be from the winning team. If tier 2 are playing tier 1, this does sound a little bit patronising, but
It is a little bit patronising.
Michael Leach was the best player on that pitch.
Yeah.
Comfortably.
He was by far the best player on that pitch.
Yeah. Do you remember when Michael Leach got choked out by David Pocock?
I do remember about
the
that.
ethical David Pocock.
Yeah, Eco Warrior.
And the flip side of that is Michael Leach. You don't have to do a long interview, and you can. And plus, anyway, he's the captain.
He was
the
losing
captain,
so he had to get
losing
interviewed
captain.
anyway.
I'm sure he'd front up and talk about it anyway. But it's an odd one. I don't agree. I don't personally agree with that protocol. If it's 50-50 and you could pick one or another, fine.
Yeah.
It makes more sense. But like you say, comfortably the best player on the pitch.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't have had a problem in the Scotland-South Africa game with Stuart Hogg being man of the match. Because I thought, okay,
Yeah.
again, and I think it was a big blow when he went off. And hopefully, because it looked like an ankle injury again, which he's just come back from. Hopefully that's not bad at all. But I thought he was the best player on the pitch. I thought he was phenomenal.
He was. And Hoggy would have loved to have walked away with that can of Tennant's in
Oh,
formaldehyde, the man of the match trophy for Scotland international games.
A solid
it's amazing.
block of Tennant.
It's like Damien Hirst, budget pound shop Damien Hirst.
It is incredible. It is incredible.
I'd love one of those. Having seen it.
Yeah. So this is another game which just tells me there are no longer any bad teams in international rugby, because these two were absolutely fantastic.
It's a great game, this.
Wasn't it?
It was.
If it wasn't for the game afterwards, we would be talking about this for the first 30 minutes of the entire program.
The Jesse Creel try, Moster and Kitsoff, the hands of that, a couple of front five forwards, the break and hands, it was brilliant.
Yeah,
It was like it was the other way around. It was like the centres doing the handling and the forwards doing the crash through it, because Jesse Creel crashed over the line.
I mean, I thought Scotland were going to get a hiding. I didn't think that Scotland could stop South Africa in any way, shape or form.
Well, then you haven't been looking at Scotland's results at Murrayfield for the last 2 years, because
it wasn't about
8 out
that.
of 9 or 9
8 out of 9, and then only narrowly lost to New Zealand.
No, it wasn't about
their
that for me.
defeat.
It was about that South Africa pack being so much more massive than anything else on earth, and them just not being able to contain the go forward. I was completely wrong.
Yeah, because we had seen Scotland against France last season, which was a bit of a chaotic game, but they could handle it.
Yeah.
And they can. They might not be quite as big, the Scotland pack, but they're very well drilled, very well organised.
So Scotland remind me of Ireland before last World Cup. And what I mean by that is they are a good team, but they are still reliant on a handful of individuals, whereas Ireland have got past that now. They're not, someone, Conor Murray's out, doesn't matter. Probably Johnny Sexton's probably the only guy they can't replace, and they probably could.
Henshaw out, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So they're sort of past the individual stage. Scotland need all their players playing and playing well to be good. But nevertheless, when they do have everyone playing, they're really, really good. And they'll be, the World Cup coming up, there are so many good teams that could win it, and I include Scotland in that.
So do you think they can actually win it?
Yeah, I think.
I don't think they can string together 7 games for exactly the reason you just highlighted.
But So if you take out,
is it or 6 games, 7
yeah.
games?
So if you
4, 3, 7.
if anything happens to Ireland or New Zealand on the way to the final, right? You've got 5 teams there, 1 or 4 teams. One of them's going to win it, and all of them are not capable of stringing together those 6 wins. But they will do so just by default.
But
someone has to win it, and if it's not those 2, it could be anyone from the chasing pack. So yeah, absolutely, Scotland could win it.
Scotland's problem, they would have to be phenomenally lucky with injuries, because exactly as you have just highlighted, that it's not always 1A and 1B.
Yes, that is actually a bit of,
and that does make it difficult.
I think Australia are probably in that group. Like they need everyone fit and firing. England probably not quite so much actually.
Depends on positions for England.
Yeah.
England have got a few key guys who, if they're missing, it does cost them.
Yeah, no Vunipolas, and they're in trouble.
No Vunipolas, and they beat South Africa and lost to New Zealand by 1 point.
I think it's I still think it's South Africa that are going to be the biggest challenges to those top 2.
What about on debut? Faf's been getting all the headlines, and then Ambrose Papier. What a live wire he is.
He's all right.
Yeah, he was
all right.
exciting.
He held the fort well.
Just because you're a man behind the scenes at Sale, JB.
Not particularly.
Well, you
well,
work
go on, try me.
Out in the front, out in front, not behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, you work there.
Okay, well, no, I don't work there. Ask away.
Why wasn't Faf playing for South Africa?
I couldn't possibly suggest why, but
it doesn't normally stop you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they've just got a very good relationship with Sale there, which is probably why they've got another South African international rocking up to play for them for 3 months now, which is quite exciting. And the word on the street is there's going to be more, and names that you will have heard of who probably played this weekend too. So watch this space.
Props.
Maybe ginger ones. Who knows?
Yeah.
That would be a good signing.
But no, I think the problem is they are after a lot of these South African lads have got a good relationship there, but everyone's after these South African lads, and the money that will be thrown at those lads is going to be enormous.
Can I talk about one moment in this Scotland v South Africa game?
Yes, please.
The yellow card for Willie LaRue. Villarreal, right?
So I did not like this.
No, and I've said this before, so I'm not going to labour the point, but I think I can now verbalise what my issue is. So this is one of those situations where it's adjudged to have been a deliberate knock-on, denying an attacking opportunity, and therefore an automatic yellow card. It was Villarreal getting a yellow card for that was consistent with the other yellow cards which have been given out all season. I think they're all rubbish, and none of them like that should be given a yellow card. And here's the way that I've crystallised it in my mind. So yes, he denied a clear break.
He did?
With his knock-on, which was adjudged to have been deliberate. However, had he not rushed up to try to intercept the ball, there would not have been a shot at a line break. Therefore, what you're actually doing is incentivising safe defence and collisions, and you're disincentivising evasion and potential tries, one way or the other. Because Villarreal catches it, he scores. Scotland catch it, they could go and score. But actually, the coaching point, as Phil quite often talks about in these sort of situations, the coaching point is going to be, don't even try interceptions. Stand back, play it safe. Be passive and just make the tackle. So what you're actually incentivising World Rugby with this particular interpretation of the law, because deliberate knock-ons have always been penalties or yellow cards, what you're doing with this 50-50 could actually catch it and knock it on. You're incentivising extra tackles, extra rucks, less tries.
I do love the idea. I mean, yes, you can tell when a player can and cannot. Is in a handful of the most qualified people on earth who know when a ball is catchable.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to be able to leave it to their judgment.
Yeah, and I do. I think I've made this point before. I do have a bit of an issue with the term deliberate, because deliberate signals you intended to knock it on, whereas the way it is adjudicated is were they in fact in line with the way it's written in the laws, is were they in a reasonable position or did they have a reasonable chance of catching that ball? But exactly as you say, Villarreal, there is no way he would have gone for that with one hand if he thought he couldn't have caught it with one hand.
He is one of probably the top 5 people in the world most qualified to judge if a ball is catchable.
Yes, and in that position, there is no incentive at all for him not to try and catch it.
Yeah.
Because if he catches it, it's 7 points.
Exactly.
So it just seems so odd. There's some which have been more marginal than that. That just seemed like.
To be fair, I
was seeing something completely different to
I
all
am
of us.
all for yellow cards for deliberate knock-ons.
If
try scoring opportunities.
Yeah, if it is cynical.
And a slap down.
Yeah. If it's a slap down, if it's cynical, definitely. But that, and all the commentators, who generally former players, the pundits were all saying, no, he's trying to get that. He's trying to take it. So I just think this was Poit's interpretation.
Shutting the stable door after the horse is bolted. You moan for letter of the law for a couple of years, and this is what you get.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was letter of the law, though.
Well, all right. You crave consistency. That means when it happens once, it has to happen every time. So, anyway, it's all that particular interpretation of that particular law is bollocks.
I do agree. That particular interpretation was just wrong.
Yep. So to sum up, Scotland good, South Africa good. Well done, guys.
Great work.
Well done.
So the other games that I watched the full game of, we watched the full game of, France-Argentina.
Loved it. I love France. I think France is my favourite team in the world now. France and South Africa, it's a toss-up between those two. So
watching this, JB said it when we were watching this, straight immediately after. So we recorded this game, we watched the big one, Ireland, New Zealand, and then
what was France Argentina on? Because last week you couldn't watch France South Africa.
Premier Sport, both times, which JB has because of his beloved Benetton.
Of course.
So JB said this is like watching a very, very good public school match.
Yeah.
In comparison to the standard, the ferocity of Ireland, New Zealand, and I think you were right. You're watching the set piece, watching. The defensive line structure was...
It was all perfectly competent.
It was acceptable.
Yeah.
It was nothing like watching that dog-legged France-Argentina defensive line meander its way up the pitch when one of the teams was attacking, compared to the militant discipline of that Ireland defensive line. It was.
But what were you expecting with France, Argentina, not renowned for their stoic defensive duties.
I know, but it really did highlight the difference.
Yeah,
but it
cultural more than anything else.
It led to a highly entertaining game.
It was a great game
and a couple of standout performances. Teddy Thomas and Gail Fickou. Gail Fickou, who
some of the passes were incredible in this game.
Oh yeah.
So the Fickou pass
for Thomas's, was that his second try?
Yeah, I love Teddy Thomas. He's just so. I was going to say good, but maybe that's not quite it. He just does things which other people can't.
Yeah,
and you can't explain how he does it either.
Yeah. Some of his running is incredible.
Uge was back, and I love Uge.
Uge.
He's just
slick.
The Uge break for the first Thomas try.
He's slick, literally and metaphorically.
Yes. Whatever oozes out of his skin can probably make engines run 40% more efficiently. He is. I love him because he's just like he's like a comic book bad guy. Like, everybody hates him. He's the French
except
villain.
the women.
Yeah, except the women. He's literally like the French villain that Hollywood would write. I just can't get enough of this. I just love the French. I really do. In fact, next Six Nations, they're probably going to be the team that I actually support.
Well, you're going to be because it's on the board.
Oh yeah, of course. I've said that they're going to win the Six Nations. I'm not convinced on that at all now. At all. I think they're probably 4 or 5. But
Wow.
They're going to be better than England. And
I didn't watch Wales Tonga.
No, neither did I. Was playing.
So the first half an hour before the England game, and it was all Wales, not helped by the Tonga were not helped by the referee. He gave a penalty try, which didn't really need to be a penalty try, and a yellow card at the same time, which put them down to 10 men, and Wales
14 men.
10 men, 14 men. Wales just controlled it.
You've been to City again this week.
Not this week.
On an international weekend anyway, so you had to have a weekend off the football.
Yeah.
Yes.
Has anyone read any of the rugby press today in relation to transfers? Anyone know any of any transfers?
Not from today.
Have you got any that you're aware of?
What, international players? After
yes.
the autumn internationals come in places?
An English guy moving. Anyway, it doesn't matter because we'll tell you about that in the domestic podcast.
Ooh, which is going to be in a day's time.
Exactly.
We're getting back together tomorrow. The band are getting back together for the domestic pod.
Just like the Spice Girls.
Who are you then, Jay?
I don't know. That's a good question. Baby, that's not really it. It's probably
Belligerent Spice.
Belligerent Spice. Old Spice?
Phil would be
Manchester Homeless Spice. I don't know.
I saw some. I assume that's what they were doing. I walked near Piccadilly Station and saw some people.
So interesting,
keeling over backwards.
Yeah. Relax. Yoga it might have been.
So
it was either spice or yoga, one of the two.
So interesting little fact for you. I was getting the tram up to Oldham a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago now, and every morning there would be people getting on the tram who probably weren't going to work that morning. A few weeks ago, there was a tower block in Oldham, which is literally about 500 metres away from where I work, which was cordoned off by the police, and they found the Northwest's biggest spice lab there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's proper Breaking Bad stuff.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
So that's why people were on the tram towards Oldham.
Before we go...
Grim up north.
Before we go, just one little word on Steve Brown leaving the RFU as chief exec.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I know nothing about it.
He's only been in charge for 14 months. He apparently made his own decision to leave. Sorry.
Sure he did.
Did Brown make... Oh, no, sorry, that's a question, not a statement. Sorry.
So from what I read...
It was described by Francis Barron this week. The finances were described as, quote, a shambles by the former chief exec. And they had to and the RFU had to get rid of 64
Staff.
64 members of staff as emergency cost cutting.
That's astonishing,
And
isn't
Brown was the man who was the public figure of these financial problems and had already admitted that the union would need to make £5 million worth of cuts per year for 4 years to reset their balance sheet. So the RFU have said it was totally Steve's decision.
it? Hang on a minute. So I'm not au
He's only
fait.
been there 14 months, though. How much damage can you do in 14 months?
This is exactly what I was going to ask Phil, because I'm not au fait with big commercial organisations, but you are. Like, how much damage can you do? I mean, presumably quite a lot.
It depends. It depends how much direct control he has, and also how much is controlled by other people, or how much that should be under his control, and he's actually not under his control. If that makes sense.
Like, the East Stand had nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't build an East Stand in 18 months from conception to actually throwing the thing up.
No, 2012. I know. So the RFU, Barron claims the RFU's lost nearly 50 million since 2012, and that the East Stand was 27 million over budget.
Does he mean they spent 50 million rather than just carelessly left it around?
Lost 50 million. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, bit of a mess and a bit of a vacuum in leadership.
Well, I'm sure the Telegraph
There.
will clear that up for us in short order, because they are the people in the know about the RFU.
I'll watch this space.
Indeed.
Anyway, if anything happens between now and tomorrow that we happen to read between now and tomorrow, then
Like some transfer rumours, eh?
we'll let you know. Maybe some transfer rumours. See you on the domestic pod.
Ooh,
And,
wait, well, just one thing
Oh, yeah, go on.
worth mentioning. Well, two things worth mentioning.
Canada.
Yes, the repechage.
Oh, yeah, is it over? It is over.
It's
Pretty much for all intents and purposes over.
it's not over unless Hong Kong beat Canada by more than 60 points.
More okay.
About 60 points. 57 points.
All right. And what about Germany?
And Germany would have to get a bonus point win.
Germany are out of it.
Oh, they're out of it.
Yeah, because they've not picked up any bonus points so far.
Oh, poor Germany.
Canada's on 10 points.
So us going to the final weekend of the repechage to see the final team crowned at the Rugby World Cup is just more of a procession and coronation of Canada.
Probably. So Hong Kong do play Canada. If Hong Kong get a big bonus point win against Canada, they could theoretically.
Which game is
win it.
first?
The Kenya-Germany game is first at 6 o'clock, and Hong Kong-Canada is at
Should
9
we
o'clock.
go see Mike Ford
Definitely.
and Germany? Go watch their game. Congratulate Canada, and then get
warming up.
into town.
While
Yeah.
they're warming up, we can congratulate them.
Yeah, I think that's probably wise.
There's a pretty nice marina in Marseille.
Yeah, and I have booked a table too. So
So you preempted Canada
I
winning.
would be.
That's.
I would be astonished
Your
if-
board, right?
yeah.
Your board has had some things. You've put your money where your mouth is with the board. Some of those predictions haven't come off. Some of them haven't. Booking a table for Marseille weeks before the repechage, preempting the fact that
it's
Canada
quite
will
something, isn't it?
already be there. I mean, that's the most impressive thing you've done.
It is. I would be frankly astonished if we go to eyes with these games. But
We're definitely going to one of the games.
yeah,
We'll see the start.
How
of
far
the
out?
second.
Where is the Marseille rugby ground in relation to the town?
I don't think it's too far out.
it's on the tram route.
Oh, that's all right then.
I've already done my maps.
And then we will be doing podcasting and stuff next weekend
Now, how
from
do we
the Stadio de Flaminio.
Yeah, in Rome.
So that's a really good point. Do we do our podcast? This is sort of an internal chat, but it doesn't matter.
After we've been on the beers with Mike Ford. Yes.
No, well, no, we can't. So, no, we'll have to do it on Sunday. So what we'll do on Sunday, well, because we're going to be in Rome, and the Rome match kicks off at 1,
it does.
meaning that we've got to then somehow watch the rest of the internationals in Rome somewhere. Oh no! But that also means that
We'll go to some of Rome's fine Irish bars.
yeah, that also means that we're not necessarily going to be able to podcast that evening. Like, so we'll have to do it all on Sunday.
Unlikely, because the last game will only finish at like 10 o'clock.
That'll be France, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I love France.
What
so
games
much.
are there this weekend? Let's do that now.
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
that.
Where are we? Here we go. Fixtures for next week.
So I think that whole conversation was a general apologies in advance for the quality of podcasting you're likely to get next weekend. Although hopefully it will be full like last season's. It will be full of some some of the world's best players, the
Well,
great and the good.
And the world's best player.
Literally.
Johnny Sexton
Literally.
on the pod.
Yes. If Johnny Sexton doesn't get it, it's a travesty.
Well, no, because Faf will
Anyway.
have it. He's got to get off Faf first.
Yeah, true.
I'd love Faf. I'd love
But
Faf
you
to
can
win it.
you can just pull your strings and get Faf on the pod anyway, right?
See what I can do.
Just one other thing from the games: the Italy-Australia game wasn't an amazing game. There was a shocking refereeing decision to disallow Tito Tibaldi's try.
I saw that. How did he call that offside?
He was comfortably onside. He was yards onside. He was great timing from Tibaldi.
The interception. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, one thing to note: Bellini, the Italian winger, is rapid. He scored one try and hunted down Israel Folau, he's not the fastest in open field, but Folau had 10 yards on him, and he comfortably caught up with him. So
More Italian players that are also the names of canapes
canapes and drinks.
and drinks. That's how it should be.
So yeah, a tough warm up for Australia ahead of England this week.
That is actually quite an important game. I mean, like,
Australia-England is probably the only important game, isn't it? For the
So
weekend?
we'll go through them. So Romania hosts Uruguay in Bucharest.
that is big for them.
Georgia hosts Tonga. And it should be said
That'll be physical.
Georgia beat Samoa
Ooh.
in Tbilisi this weekend.
Oh,
Crikey,
excellent.
there were some big games.
So Georgia hosting Tonga. Tonga who got absolutely hammered by Wales. So I imagine Georgia will win that. Italy hosts New Zealand, which we will be at. Looking forward to that one. Then Japan play Russia, which, given that Russia lost to the Dragons, I think that's going to be an absolute beatdown. Scotland host Argentina. Now this is very important for both teams to have more successful autumn internationals. Both teams really need a win here because Argentina have been disappointing. So I think Scotland will win this. Hopefully Hoggy will be playing. We've not touched on the Hog move yet, have we?
We'll do it for the Premiership.
Okay. Then Spain hosts Samoa in Madrid, our favourite stadium in the world.
Yep.
Yeah,
Portugal hosts Namibia.
Oh, nice.
lovely.
France play Fiji, which I imagine will be fairly one-way traffic. Ireland play United States, which will be some one-way traffic. And then probably two other big games of the weekend. So Wales play South Africa.
Huge.
Which Wales...
This is a big one.
This is a big test for Wales. And England play Australia. So how do we see those two going?
Wales will win at home.
I think Wales and Australia win. Wales and England win.
I agree with that.
I mean, if England can't beat Australia...
Now, who were the last team to beat Ireland?
Don't know. Australia?
Australia in the summer tour.
Oh, yeah.
So, if Ireland beat the number one team in the world, so Hansen said that makes Ireland the number one team in the world.
And Schmidt said, "Do me a favour. We've only won one game." Schmidt said they're coming off the end of a long season, and they've been the world number one for the last couple of years. So they're all trying to jockey. We're not favourites.
I would 100% run with Ireland number one if I was number one.
You would run with number one if you were number 6.
Correct. So, take it.
But Australia are the team to beat by the Worcester Warriors logic of beating the team that's beaten some of the best teams in the top 14.
Yeah.
England have got to beat the world's number one team this weekend.
Exactly.
There you go. There you go. It's all on this for Eddie. And I think he'll go back to the team that he played against New
If
Zealand.
Eddie loses this one, will you start to think it is probably time for Eddie to move on? Or no, he's going to... I've changed my mind. I do think he's going to take him to World Cup, but I do also think that he's been a bad appointment if he loses this.
So I don't overall think he's a bad appointment. I think there's things that I would have liked to see be done differently. I still like the appointment, and whether he wins or loses this, I still want to see him go into the World Cup.
One thing that fills me with a little bit of hope is that the way Maro Itoje is playing, and I think he's almost a barometer of what Eddie Jones is doing, because there's been times when you've looked at him playing for England and gone, that's not Marrow. He's tired. He's not. He's busy. And I wonder if maybe Eddie isn't flogging. It's interesting, and we'll talk about this in the Premiership podcast. But Pat Lam has tweaked the way Bristol are playing. Eddie might have tweaked the way he's not flogging his players.
Well, I actually would have preferred to see Itoje not play that game.
Well, yeah,
Because I mean, it's 4 starts for him.
yeah.
He did play very well. He man of the match. Maybe Leach should have got it, but there was some analysis I saw of the Leach try, where Itoje just doesn't recognise. He just doesn't track across. It looks incredibly lazy, and I don't think it's laziness. I just think he didn't realise until it was too late that Leach has breached the defence, and so he's just jogging across. And if he'd have seen it early, he would have got there and could have potentially stopped it. But other than that one moment, he had a very good game.
I think England will win.
I think England
Australia are probably the. Well, so we thought South Africa were in chaos a year ago, and look at them now. And Australia are.
Well, Australia were in chaos this time 4 years ago. You know, if they hadn't changed their coach, they were in the process of changing their coach from whoever it was to Michael Chaka. So it's going to be close. And really, for this stage of World Cup cycles, it shouldn't be if England was serious.
So we all saying England
By 1 score.
Yeah, I think England will win.
Yeah.
But Australia have got the firepower to cause them some problems.
They really do.
Oh yeah, that was just one other thing from that disallowed try for Tito Taboldi, and then the Tongan Thor try. There were 2 obstructions. Yeah, thank you, Tim. 2 obstructions in the run up to that try, which prevented Italy from tackling him. So yeah, it's Italy a little bit hard done by on that scoreline.
Right,
There we go.
Done.
You know where to find us. Let the boys play.
Indeed.
Right, save that.
Yeah, the Premiership one can be a whistle stop. Hogg.
Yeah.
Hogg, Dupree.
Yeah. Your rumour.
Jack Singleton signed at Saracens.
Oh, that's good. That's really bad for Worcester, though.
That's why I was asking. Like, do you know of anyone mentioning that in the rugby press?
That's a good signing because Tolofua.
Oh, I haven't read today's
gone,
rugby
hasn't
paper.
he?
Let me have a look. I've got it on my phone.
Tolofua signed for Toulon, hasn't he?
Like the world's worst Damien.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Well, that's good for him.
Piece.
He's a lot fitter than he was when he went to France. He probably, if he doesn't get back on the cheese, he'll be all right.
Talk about the autumn internationals and the.
Tell you what, boys, if only
Big spender Eddie was a factor in Brown exit. An overspend of £900,000 by Eddie Jones set,
I did see that.
compounding the financial problems.
It'll be our last pod.
Tell you what, boys, if only people knew what we spoke about before.
It'll be our last.
Ed Slater between.
Hello, Eggchasers, and welcome to the Eggchasers Rugby podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. We are here once again in the rugby dungeon to talk about the autumn internationals and the big one, the world champions New Zealand against the world ranked number 2 side.
Because Tim, JB, we listen to your pod all the time. So it was like literally 5 minutes with Richie, 5 minutes. Eggchasers.
I do like Andre Pollard this autumn.
Yeah, he's played well.
Or is Pocock going to be out?
Which one? Pocock or?
Hooper actually looks like he might be out. He took a very heavy.
Right, okay, let's get ready to this podcast.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just looking for.
Oh, just remember, we are still on YouTube. We're not off it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you bloody said that now. Well, you've just announced a signing that you were unsure about.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, whoops. They couldn't tell you who that text is from. Right, are we good to go?
I'm just trying to find the page. Oh, come on. Hold on a second. Come on. Just, I'm not on your Wi-Fi, that's all. The blind side. Daly deciding if he wants out of Wasps.
I've heard
Elliot Daly could swap Wasps for Saracens due to an extraordinary clause in his contract.
that. Click here. Wasps did not want this
Elliot
to happen.
Daly's got 4 clauses. You won't believe number 3.
The clause that Elliot Daly's contract shares with the Brexit withdrawal agreement. You won't believe it.
You will not believe it.
You simply will not believe that Elliot Daly's contract.
I love the
shares
ones,
something
right, which are just so obscure. Like, the Department of Agriculture tried to hide this fact. They did?
Why?
Bath have got Boise. Apparently.
Boise, he's
Lewis Boyce.
Shall we say this for the podcast?
Give me 1 second. I'm just going to run to the loo, actually.
Can you get me a glass of water? What's wrong?
Yes. Tim, do you want water?
I'm all right, thank you.
So, I'll tell you, people on YouTube, because you're watching us, I have done. I did an interview with Craig Doyle this. By the way, Craig Doyle's a lovely bloke.
Isn't he just?
He's just got a remarkable voice.
What the Dublin accent or Southern Irish accent in general is very musical.
It is, but like, well, do you know he's a radio guy first and foremost?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought he was Holiday. He did Holiday when he was 22. 22.
Well, he did radio after that as well.
Yeah, but
I remember
imagine
being
being
on-
22 doing that job.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But yeah, really interesting because he spoke about the documentary that they made, which is pretty cool. And keeping it on Irish things, I've already interviewed Billy Byrne for this week's Rugby Dungeon, which is good fun.
Now we're going to time travel into the future, 24 hours, and do a podcast on Monday night, on Sunday night.
Yes.
Quite impressive.
Where's my water?
Coming, sir.
Lead crystal glass. Cheers.
Yeah, very posh glasses for the dungeon.
Yes. It's already rolling dungeon.
Yeah, they are satisfying to drink out of.
Right. Ready?
Ready. Let's do it.
So no is the answer to your question generally on that particular
Good. It can be our story.
rumour.
It can be our story then.
Are you
Good source.
Hello, Eggchasers. This is the Eggchasers Rugby podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. We just love the game, and we're here for a second time this week to talk on this podcast about domestic rugby matters. If you are downloading this, listening to this, thank you very much. If you're thinking you want to hear about us talking about Ireland's famous victory at the Aviva Stadium over New Zealand, we've already done a podcast on that, and it's in this feed, so go and listen to that one. Subscribe while you're here, and find us wherever you are on social media. We are there as well. I'm Tim. That's JB.
Hello, Timothy. And
That's-
sorry, I was going to say,
Go on.
and welcome to, is it our first MWDP of the season?
I think it is. Midweek domestic podcast.
It might well be.
You're right. It's a lovely Monday evening. How was Monday at work?
Oh, very Monday-ish. Very standard Monday. You know what it's like.
I do. I know exactly what it's like. The weather was kind of just sort of, I don't know,
Did I tell you about what happened to me?
very, very in between.
Almost indescribable,
Yeah.
the weather.
Quite.
Did I tell you what happened to me 2 Mondays ago after recording the podcast?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I got hit by a car.
What?
Did I not tell you that, Tim?
Yeah, you're making me nervous that you're not monitoring the waveform. Are we definitely
Yep.
good?
Very
Sorry,
fine.
shouldn't doubt your. Sorry,
Yeah.
Go on.
I got hit by a car. So I was cycling. This is not rugby related at all, but I mentioned my Monday, so this is what happened to me 2 Mondays ago. I was cycling to work, and then somebody out of nowhere cuts right into cycle lane, too quickly for me to stop or to react without even looking. I hit the side of their car. I go over the bonnet.
what?
Yeah, and then my bike goes over my head and just goes straight into the middle of the road. So I then land on my hip, right? And it's bloody painful, like really, really, really painful. But it's okay, it was okay because there's like five or six people must have rushed out their cars to see if I was okay, and it's quite nice because there was a lot of I'd say quite goodwill, but all I could think at that time, right, is how intensely angry that I was.
You want retribution, don't
Yeah,
you?
I wanted to put my fist through that lady's window, right? through that car window so badly. I thought, if I get up and I'm the arsehole here, then all of this goodwill will dissipate.
Yeah.
And it's very much not within the spirit of the situation. So
you controlled yourself.
yeah, I was utterly furious.
What did the woman do?
What did she do?
No, to like, what was her reaction? Because quite often in that situation, a lot of people preemptively defend their almost. What were you doing?
No.
Yeah.
You should have had 17 lights.
Yeah, why weren't you in high vis? No. Well, there's that. There's also the other thing, isn't there, which they'll do, which is, I'm just as shocked as you are. I'm like, no, you're not the victim. You're not the victim. You don't have a right to be upset. But no, I was very, very restrained. And I hit my hip, but it was okay because thanks to Burnage Rugby Club, we trained against them on the Tuesday night. My hip was a little bit sore. Went into contact in some opposed training. Got absolutely smashed. Landed on my hip. A little click, and it's fine.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So Burnage Rugby Club provided a chiropractor service.
Exactly right.
I'm very much like justice is one of my core values. So I need to know what happened. Is this woman? Was anyone taking note of it? What do you do? Because if it was a car in a car, you'd
Yeah.
So this is, I feel so stupid for saying this now, okay? But I really have a thing about claiming when you don't need to claim, right? Really have a thing. So I got up and I kind of assessed my own hip. I was like, it's sore, but it's okay. And the bike looks okay. So she's like, do you want to get the, no, she didn't say that. So people are saying, go and get the number plate, swap numbers. Like, no, I'm fine. So I pushed my bike, walked off. She went her own way. I was right about my hip. It's absolutely fine. Took my bike in for service. 200 quid's worth of damage. And now I'm really, really angry. So I was angry when I came off the bike, and then I was even angrier when I paid. But actually, 200 quid to get hit by a car, it's probably a price worth paying. It's okay.
A price worth paying.
No, it's not the price worth paying. It's
It could have been so much worse.
You'd take that outcome.
Yes.
Yeah, 200 quid. It matters not.
So it's another Owen Farrell moment.
Yes, exactly right.
You farrelled
I
it.
completely farrelled.
And when I tell you about Cornerstone Razors later, just remember that 200 quid that JB had to fork out because he was so kind to a defenceless, terrible driving woman.
Yeah.
Not that her gender had anything to do with the fact that
No. Just happened to be that way.
just happened to be that way.
Could have been anyone.
Oh God, we're going to be in a scandal now.
Could have been anyone.
Right, this is a podcast all about domestic matters. The international one, as I say, we've dealt with. We're going to talk about mainly the Premiership. Let's talk about some of the the stories that have happened since last week. Stuart Hogg is going to Exeter Chiefs. As we kind of mentioned, was the rumour. It's been confirmed.
Hoggy.
Don't like it.
You don't like
Don't
it?
like it.
So half of me loves it because he seems like the perfect kind of personality
Yeah.
and character type to fit in superbly at Exeter. And he is such a talent, an all-round talent. You saw in the game at the weekend. I mean, he was out for however long, 8 weeks with an ankle injury. He's played a couple of games back at international level and just looks like the best player on the park.
Yeah. I want to be clear. I don't dislike it because I don't think he's a good player. I think he's amazing. I don't like it because it feels like a departure of ways from what Exeter have done in the past. I also think if you're going to give 500,000 to someone and you've got the talent, the stable of talent that Exeter have got, you're probably best distributing that money around your squad.
Well, linking into that one then is this. Luke Cowan-Dickey has apparently rejected a new contract, as has been reported. There are other teams obviously now circling around and putting him as their top transfer target. Leicester and Harlequins rumoured to be part of that. And Rob Baxter, it's been speculated. This is all speculation in the rugby paper, by the way. Rob Baxter is having to perform a fine juggling act at being able to offer enough to retain some key players. Guys like Jack Noel, Henry Slade and Alex Hepburn have already agreed contract extensions for next season. Luke Cowan-Dickey has not.
Yeah.
And now, the Stuart Hogg money, if it was a case of they didn't have the money because they were spending it on Stuart Hogg, I get that. But if they can't keep Luke Cowan-Dickey, it's because of the salary cap. Because
Yes.
Stuart Hogg would be outside of the salary cap. Stuart McCall. Be interesting for the former Glasgow Rangers
I don't know who
midfielder
that was.
to an Everton player to be talking about it.
I
No,
wonder what his take on this is.
Mark McCall has talked about this in the past, about it doesn't seem right that a club develops young players, they get to international level, then they can't afford to keep them.
I think it's fine. Personally, I think it's fine. The whole idea of the salary cap is it spreads the talent around. And, Mark McCall's wrong on that. And he's wrong on that because the point of developing your own young players is you carry on developing them. You don't develop them once and keep them forever. You develop Itoje and then you develop Cruz and then you develop the next second row and then Ezekwe and whoever it is. So it isn't just a one-off thing. You carry on doing it.
No, but I guess the Mark McCall's point is their academy has been so prolific
Yeah.
that you then can't take the fruits of your labour.
Well, I mean,
to some degree.
Sale look at it like this because they've got one of the best academies in the country, which is eventually their academy will get so strong that they'll be selling talent to other teams. So you can look at it. You can look at it either way. Back to the Stuart Hogg thing. You are absolutely right that if he is outside the salary cap, that money couldn't go to those players anyway, right? But the problem is not so much that. The problem is it sets a new standard. So if Henry Slade is up for contract renewal, and he isn't, but just let's use him as an example. He goes, well, come on, boss. I'm also an international, and judging by the going rate for him, I should be paid this. And in the past, Exeter have got guys in who fit their system.
Thomas Waldron, Dean Mumm.
Yeah, I mean, these are good players, and they got better at Exeter, but Exeter made them. They didn't make Exeter.
Ollie Woodburn.
And
Woodburn.
Devoto.
Yeah.
The list goes
Less
on.
so Devoto, but yes.
It goes on and on and on,
So I
right?
wouldn't be surprised if Devoto leaves because he's not the main man. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so, you've got a lot of mouths to feed there, and I'm not sure that bringing in a highly paid guy or the highest paid guy in the club is a good way to do things if you are Exeter. I mean, you could actually go and make Henry Slade your marquee player, and then you do have money to share around.
I think this is where the value of the 25 grand a game for being an England player becomes relevant, because Henry Slade and Jack Noel and Alex Hepburn, those three people that have agreed new contracts, are in the England squad and are getting that supplementary £250,000 a year or somewhere close to it. Luke Cowan-Dickey is not.
Yeah.
And now he's going to...
And so he knows he's of more value because he's going to be available 22 games a season.
He's currently injured, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he has had a few injury problems. So perhaps he's not...
So...
Yeah, it's a difficult one.
And that's the
to add
problem
that in the mix.
with the England money gamble, isn't it? if you're not fit, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
Whereas you do always get paid by your club.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to bear that in mind. Now, he's also, rolling the dice on going to a better place to give him more of a chance to be in the England setup. And as far as I can see, he's in the best situation he possibly can be. But what Mr. Fissler is saying, I can actually back up, or I can substantiate, because I've heard of a different player going elsewhere who Leicester are interested in, who's also a hooker. So I do believe that a lot of people are sniffing around Luke Cowan-Dickie.
Jackson, no, sorry, we just said Luke Town-Dickey. You meant someone else.
Yes, so I believe that there are a lot of people. So sorry,
people need hookers.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is I
I
know
see.
that Leicester are in the market for a hooker.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, actually, fair play to friend of the pod, Nick Heath, for his question to Jamie George at the England camp.
Jamie, there can't be a lot of information out there on your opponents this weekend. Have you spent all week online looking at Japanese hookers? That's ridiculous. Comment.
Very good, yeah, very good. My Google search history.
Well done. Was that Nick Heath?
Yeah.
Was it?
I assume it is. One of my gifts is I can hear voices and I know who it is. I'm the best person to go and watch an animated film with, because you have that thing. Who's that? Who's that? I know him straight away. That is Nick Heath. Sure, that's his voice.
It just didn't sound like him to me. I'm terrible with voices.
You're literally like a level 1 X-Man.
Yeah, quite right.
It's a minor power, but useful all the same. Yeah. So, well, what were we talking about? We were talking about Hogg. So everyone's agreed with me. Not a great signing.
Well, I like it for some reason. The bit I don't. I can see that setting a new standard.
Yeah.
I can see that as a potential downside. The other side is, next season he's going to be so unavailable.
Yeah.
World Cup, Six Nations. They might get a handful of Premiership games out of him, and they're paying an enormous privilege for it.
I imagine Europe's the target.
Yeah, it'll have to be.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm just trying to think what they did with Champions Cup, Heineken Champions Cup, at the last World Cup. Start
did
later.
So it's going to be the Premiership Rugby Cup throughout the pool stages of the rugby, and then Premiership starts later in the middle of October.
Right. That makes sense.
Or the end of October.
Something like that.
But then by end of October, you've normally had 2 rounds of
there'll be
Champions Cup
no.
as well.
What happened? There was no breaks in
So-
the season. There was no weeks off.
I actually remember
Yeah.
what happened last year, which was
There's no autumn internationals as well.
the first
Yeah,
week of
true.
the season coincided with the World Cup final. I know this.
No,
Yeah, it did.
no.
Because we went to
Wasn't the first.
Bath. Was it not
Yeah,
the
it
first?
wasn't the first week
Wasn't
of
the
the
first?
season.
Second?
It was second or third, probably.
Third round, I think.
Because I remember
Yeah.
I was watching the World Cup final in Bath.
Yeah, we watched Bath
That was
Harlequins.
weekend 3.
Yeah.
There you go then. Yeah, weekend 3, Bath Harlequins. Harlequins. Did they beat Bath?
on
When
Halloween, yeah,
Phil
Halloween.
started a very cruel barracking of Dave Ward.
Poor Dave.
Every
And
time he was doing his warm-up throws, ooh, hey.
Everyone joined in. He missed. It
was like-
unopposed warm-up line-out.
Yeah, that was bad. So were you working this weekend, Tim?
No,
Oh, you had the whole week off.
had the whole weekend off.
Ah.
Rare weekend off.
So what domestic rugby did you see?
Well, I definitely saw Gloucester v. I've forgotten. Leicester, sorry.
One-way traffic.
Yeah, it really was. Worrying, isn't it? Wasps and Leicester.
Yeah.
Concerning. The Wasp situation is very worrying. There's lots of stuff off the field. There's reportedly a clause in Elliot Daly's contract that allows him to leave if the club fail to build a new training ground.
Yeah, I heard that. That's fairly old. I'm sure I heard that a few weeks ago
Wasps
too.
have been at their temporary training ground, temporary quote unquote, Broad Street, since they moved to Coventry. A new deal to build something hit the rocks. And yeah, there's been talks going at Leamington, but Daly could leave as a consequence.
Of not having the right changing rooms, it's a bit divish. Now, the thing about Wasps is every time there's a player up for re-signing, it feels like they go through this rigmarole. And I do believe that they're not as happy. It's not as happy a ship as it seems. There again, look, I've been predicting the downfall of Wasps for 4 years, and they keep on proving me wrong. So I'll keep my powder dry on this.
This might be the season, because when I saw these teams, so the Northampton Wasps game, I would have expected, so on the face of it, both full teams, you probably expect it to be close, but Wasps win. You then see the Northampton team, including in a back line, which includes the young lad Grayson, Piers Francis, Dingwall, Kellaway and Furbank, and Ollie Slightholme coming off the bench. And you think, hang on a minute, there's something not right about this. I hardly know any of those names. Wasps are going to win. Wasps are going to win this comfortably. Because while they're missing a few players, they've still got a lot of talent right across the line.
Yep.
And it was just complete one-way traffic. Northampton all over. And that back line, those players who I've named, the kind of young lads coming through were all superb. But Nairo Voro, the man mountain, the monster.
Yeah. Oh, he scored like 50-odd points for you in Fantasy Rugby Draft this week, didn't he?
I didn't have him.
Oh, no, it wasn't you, was it?
I had Ollie Thorley.
You had Ollie Thorley,
I got beaten literally just by Ollie Thorley.
Ollie Thorley and Nick Tompkins, those two on their own were enough to beat you.
Yeah. My pathetic 50-point haul.
I dropped Nick Tompkins a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a good pickup, that.
Damn it.
Ollie Thorley was a
hell of a pickup.
Free agent pickup about 2 weeks ago. And I got rid of Christian Wade, my first pick, who's done absolute jack all for me. Got rid of him for Ollie Thorley. Hell of a signing. Anyway, Northampton, this was a very good win. And so this I think is... It's a kind of signal of intent from the way that Chris Boyd wants Northampton to play.
Yes.
So those names are not what you expect, but the way they played... how you would expect a Chris Boyd side to play. They were superb.
Agreed.
It's a hell of a beat, though. 36-17.
Yeah, and it was... I think that scoreline actually flatters. They scored 2 late-ish tries, did Wasps.
Really?
That flatters. The scoreline flatters them.
Wow.
The other beatdown Friday night, which we mentioned, Gloucester v Leicester, so that's 36-30.
That's actually worse.
And
I mean, it actually is worse.
That scoreline probably flatters Leicester. This was all Gloucester.
Oh, I don't get this. I mean, look, Leicester, the team they put out is missing people. They've got Joe Ford at 10. Obviously, well, the halfbacks obviously aren't the first choice.
Missing Vianu, missing George Ford, missing Ben Youngs, missing Johnny May. That's 4. Tuilagi.
Yeah, but I mean...
Tamua.
You got still Carl Eastman, Gareth Owen, most of your pack.
Still got Gareth Owen.
Gareth Owen's a good player.
He's solid, but they're missing a whole international backline. Gloucester aren't.
They are missing an international backline.
Yes,
they're missing a lot of players.
They are missing players.
Ben White went off injured. Guy Thompson went off injured with a really, really nasty looking cut.
Yeah.
He's okay, though.
Yeah.
According to his Instagram.
He'll be okay. But you lose players that are going to take you forward. But it was, with all that said, it was a beatdown. It was comfortably Gloucester. Cipriani got all of the plaudits during the game.
He always does, doesn't he?
Because he's always really good.
He is always really good, but I understand that it can run away with itself, and does.
It seemed to a little bit.
I don't know. I mean, look, he is a very talented individual who's not only talented, he's talented and puts it on display every week.
He does do things which, in a very Sam Burgess way, when Sam Burgess, look at Burgess, clearing that ruck in a very regulation way. Danny Cipriani does do passes, which then, what a pass. What a pass.
They are. They're all amazing. Everyone is amazing. So everyone is a tiny little gift, spiralling gift.
If the two best fly halves in the world who were playing against each other, if you'd have been talking about them in those terms, you wouldn't have been able to mention a single other player on the pitch.
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, I'm not going to go into why Danny Cipriani is probably the best attacking player in England, but he probably is. He probably deserves every bit of praise he gets.
He did play well.
He was excellent.
Cipriani did play well.
He was excellent.
But this was all about Ollie Thorley. The young man spent last season out injured, was only got his chance because Sharples is injured in this game. And what a performance. Those 2 tries were...
That second try was ridiculous.
I mean, he is fast.
The first one was phenomenal.
The first one was amazing.
So he is fast. There's no doubt about that.
Seriously fast.
Yeah, I didn't realise how fast he was. I thought he was more of a tough, nuggety,
he's
straight up and down,
kg.
running straight lines.
Yeah.
Kind of a winger. Because he seems to... I had him in my fantasy rugby draft team last season, and he seemed to just love contact.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to... It was almost run at people because he's that tough.
So,
But
I mean,
no,
my major
he gassed Oluwafela. He was moving away from him.
For that second try, when he stepped Eastman and just... So he'd already ran 40 or 50 yards and steps Eastman and then starts accelerating. Like, oh, my God, and accelerated away from Oluwafela.
So my question about Ollie Thornley, if he's that fast and that good at scoring tries, who will Leicester give to Gloucester?
Which one of Leicester's pack?
Yeah, which one? I mean, they've already given Gloucester their club captain.
Yeah.
And best lock.
Yeah, and probably some cash as well.
Will Spencer then.
So yeah, I mean, presumably Ollie Thornley will go to Leicester and they'll give him George Ford, and Dan Cole, and whatever's left of that team. Tamua. Yeah. So
just a couple of players in the teams that we've already mentioned, like young guys, because you mentioned a lot of young guys for Northampton. Aaron Painter, the prop, he's the real deal.
People love him.
And Joe Hayes, the Leicester tight end as well. England have got ridiculous talents coming through at younger age groups as well. And it's nice to see a few of them who've stepped on from the Premiership Rugby Cup into this Premiership week.
And under 20s as well. Because Thorley was part of the under 20 squad that won in 2016, I want to say.
Tell you what, you are right, about Leicester losing players. I'm just looking through their team sheet here, and it's not the starting team which really strikes me. It is the bench, or more to the point, Gloucester's bench. They have got names like Ben Morgan, Callum Brealey, and Henry Trinder. Oh, and Groblaw.
Yeah,
to come on.
Yeah,
and Mostert will be there in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a good outfit. They're a very, very good outfit.
Yeah, they're now the third team.
They are third, yep.
Well, no, I mean they will be. That's it. It'll be Exeter Saracens top 2,
then
Gloucester third,
where Wasps have been for the past
and then
3 seasons probably.
And then it's I'm really worried about Wasps.
Well, they're fourth.
Yes, they are, but I'm worried about them like moving forward. Although when you get Villy LaRue, Elliot Daly.
Launch free.
How many other Nathan Hughes.
Yeah, Nathan Hughes.
Nizam Carr.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sale played Saracens.
I thought so. Sale have never won in the league at Allianz. I thought this was their chance.
I thought it was their chance.
And with 10 minutes to go, when they take the lead, I thought this is their chance.
Yeah, so a bit tricky for them at the moment. They've got a new fly half, which is always pretty tough. AJ is still getting surgery, or should I say still recovering from surgery. Wilkinson isn't quite ready yet, and I think he's also carrying an ox. They've just basically bought a guy over from South Africa to try and steady the ship, and that's a big ask for anyone.
Well, yeah, but another way of looking at that is, how did they not see the need for another fly half coming? Because we mentioned that in pre-season. Yeah. You said Kieran Wilkinson, he's fine, he'll be the man.
Well, he's got a knock as well. That's the other thing. So, yeah.
And Cam Redpath is injured.
Yeah. So,
but nevertheless, if you want to be getting the goals that Steve Diamond has been talking up, that they want to be consistently top 6, pushing towards top 4, putting all your eggs in the AJ McGinty basket. Well, looks like an error.
I mean, I would say that most teams put all their eggs in their starting fly half basket. I would also say
they all have a clear, more experienced, competent number 2.
Yeah, well, I mean, they all have a clear number 1. I mean, it's not
apart from possibly Bath.
Yeah, who don't have a number 1. They've got 2 clear-cut 2s.
And I guess now Exeter.
Yeah, that's a bit of a dogfight there. The other thing as well is the way Sale structure things. They are happy to go out and lend and loan players for 3 months.
But then you can't say, "Oh, it's going to take a while to bed in," and have that be an excuse.
Well, I think it is an excuse.
All right, it's an excuse that they knew was a consequence of their strategy.
Now, interestingly, do you notice that he wasn't the only guy called Dupria who was at the Saracens game?
His brother,
Jean-Luc Dupria. was also
Although
there.
he wasn't playing.
No, but he is. But he has now joined, so that is a cracking signing. And if it goes anything like the Van Rensburg signing, they'll have him for 3 months and they'll pick him up for
next season.
For next season. And he really is a very, very good signing.
Talk about young players as well. Joe Kapoku, another try.
Yeah.
Came on, got the winning try.
Came on minutes later, crashes over.
I'm pretty sure he scored against Sale when they came up to the AJ Bell. I've said it before. The guy's a monster. He's a genuine monster.
He's enormous, isn't he?
Yeah. He's
Not
really
a
good.
bad sixth choice lock for Saracens.
I know. And
It's OG Cruz, Skelton, Ezequiel,
But
Ezequiel, Dominic Day's there.
Dominic Day,
But
Kapoku.
doesn't it go back to kind of the initial thing we were talking about with Hogg? Like you've got to generate these kids all the time, and also it doesn't start. I mean, the people that lose out the most are Ezequiel, Itoje, and Cruz, because Saracens might turn around when Itoje wants to be the first £1 million player and say, "I'm not actually that sure you're that unusual. In fact, we've got loads more.
We've got 2 more.
Yeah.
Each one who was 1 year younger than the last one.
Exactly.
Just coming off the production line.
Oh, God, yeah. And he's a twin. That's the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
He's a twin. Although it could go like the Sam Warburton twin, so you just got to be careful with that.
Yeah. This Saracens team. So, when I saw the Northampton team, I thought they were going to lose. When I saw the Saracens team, I thought, Sale have got a really good chance. So,
Yeah.
guys, Chris Wiles, amazing story, coming back in. But 35, not played rugby for 6-7 months. Not played rugby since the Premiership final. Not been training. Comes back in, does well. Max Malin, Wollstonecroft, the hooker. Christian Judge, the tight head prop they got from Cornish Pirates. Just the names, the reserve. So they had Joe Gray, they had Thompson Stringer, they had Sasagi, whoever he is, and Whiteley as their reserve. So there's just half a dozen names you just don't know.
Which, okay, so one question. So people who listen to this who follow a Pro 14 team, like JB with his beloved Benetton and Phil with his beloved Ulster, proud Ulsterman, some of those Pro 14 people would have heard us talking about the Pro 14 competition during these periods and what an absolute shambles it is having fixtures. And they will say, why doesn't the same rule apply? Why aren't you giving the Premiership a load of grief?
Well, maybe we should this week.
So we should do. It does affect the Pro 14 clubs disproportionately more than the average Premiership
There's one
club.
Scottish national 23 and there's only two teams, and same with Italy.
Yeah,
3 for Wales, 4 for Ireland, and yet
but,
with
kind of 80% of the Ireland team come from Leinster anyway.
Yeah,
it does disproportionately affect Saracens. Saracens do also have injuries, but yeah, it is a fair point. I mean, I'd prefer to have international and Premiership or Pro 14 completely separate. But unfortunately, with the season as crowded as it is, you can't do it.
No, you said, Tim, that you were concerned about Wasps. How do you feel about Newcastle?
So Newcastle, there is a couple of mitigating factors in this. So Johnny Williams pulled out before the game. Joel Hodgson got stretchered off.
Oh, no.
So from 9 minutes in, you have got your entire decision-making core of your team, what they've trained for all week, is completely turned around.
Yes, but they are still rooted at the foot of the table.
And that is excuses
win.
for an individual game away at Quins, which is never an easy place to go. But yeah, but their form in Europe was sensational.
Yeah, that's remarkable, right? How many wins do you think the 5th place team have got? 7 games played.
3.
3 wins.
Yeah.
3 wins. That's it. So.
It's because Exeter and Saracens have been so dominant, 7 each of them, both with 6 bonus points in that, and then everyone else is kind of fighting amongst themselves. Apart from Gloucester, who are probably just above, they are probably the third
Only
team.
4 games won, though.
Yeah, they're just about the third team. Everyone else is. in a real dogfight. And it could legitimately, I think now, from Wasps down,
Yes.
it could be anyone goes down. I don't think it'll be Newcastle.
No, I don't
think it'll be Bristol.
Or Sale. I don't think it'll be Sale.
It could be Sale.
I mean, well, it could be anyone, as we've discussed, but I don't think it's going to be Sale.
But I just don't know. I mean, it could be Leicester. It could be Worcester.
Wow.
It could be Bath.
So
I don't think it will be.
The reason I don't think it will be
could
Sale
be Bristol.
is because I think Sale, and this is cursing them now, jinxing them, they have a history of being down there. They know what it takes to avoid relegation. And they've got a man who's very, very good at picking up wins when he absolutely has to in that situation in Steve Diamond. So they'll be more comfortable in that situation than, say, a Harlequins would be.
Yeah, well,
last time they found themselves there, got relegated.
Yeah, equally, and
20 years ago.
I agree with you. But equally, let's not play down Sale's hand here. They've spent a lot of cash relative to where they have been, and he's been talking them up as well, it was going to be top 4 last year.
Well, you know,
So let's not start talking like 11th or 10th would be okay.
no, it wouldn't.
It's not.
It wouldn't be.
I
they're only two.
Diamond has to get top 6.
Yeah, well, he's only 1 win away from top 6.
Yeah. No, totally.
He's not in top 6.
No, he's not. But
It's a proper bun fight, which is
Yeah.
making it exciting and interesting.
It will make it very interesting. I think this will go right because if anyone gets 2 wins, they're in their European position.
yeah,
If Newcastle pick up 2 wins, they're in European
And
position.
we're more than a third of the way through the season now.
Just less.
Seven, just less. Yeah, we are a third of the way through the season.
Yeah.
Worcester Warriors. Let's talk about them for 2 seconds. Mainly because I want to talk about their hooker Jack Singleton, who I understand has signed for Saracens this week
For next season.
for next season. Yeah,
Good sign.
Well, there's absolutely no talk of that yet. So that's
yeah.
just
So if that's
just a rumour coming from JB.
yeah, just exactly that. It's just rumour, but on the off chance it does come off, you heard it here first. And now, if it is the case, awesome signing for Saracens because they're losing their massive hooker, whatever his name is, to Toulon.
Christopher Tollifer.
Who sounds like a perfect Toulon player. Just from everything I've seen of him, looks like he'd fit in perfectly there.
He was Toulouse.
Yeah,
his
And he was
brothers-
massive when he was at
His
Toulouse.
brother's Toulouse.
He
was
came to
21
Saracens and they
stone.
got him into shape, like the way they have done with Will Skelton.
So he's now going to go out of shape at
Yeah.
Toulon.
perfect. So
Yeah.
that
brilliant.
works for them. And Singleton gets to show his wares in the shop window, which is Saracens, which is absolutely great. for
If
him.
that happens, that's a massive shame for Worcester. That's not.
It's not great, is it?
It'd be the number 1 hooker at Worcester.
Well, do you want to know something else? He might be going for a pay cut.
Wow.
Let that sink in. So
Not relative to what he's on now, relative to what he's being offered, surely.
don't know what that means.
As in, if there was,
Oh, you
it might be
mean
less than he's being offered.
Yeah, so
Not-
if
not
Worcester
a-
have got an offer on the table, he might. I don't know that.
I can't imagine a
Yeah.
guy that's got into the England squad is
Yeah.
negotiating a contract lower than he's on currently.
Yeah,
Because he has
Before he
been-
was in
yeah.
the England squad.
He
think
has
he-
been in the England squad.
I think he might be right there. He might be going for a lower amount than has been offered than he is actually
But-
on.
We have spoken about that principle before, as in the draw of Saracens. They might be able to pay you, I don't know, 10 grand, 20 grand less.
Yeah,
But because you're going to win things, because you're going to travel the world, do their exciting stuff, because you're going to be part of the wolf pack.
You're going to jump out of a plane and get on the beers in
Exactly.
your week off.
Yeah. Be flown out to New York or Oktoberfest or wherever it is.
and yeah, it also links into the Luke Cowan-Dickey story because I know Leicester were after Singleton as well. So there you go. There's a little bit of transfer gossip for you.
He's a handy player, Singleton.
So you, having mentioned the league table and what it's like and how congested it is at the bottom, makes every point valuable. So Bristol
Yes.
will feel like they spurned 3 points, or were 3 points stolen from them.
Interesting.
Discuss.
Interesting. I would not have given it as a penalty try. Having watched it back, I think the ref was very hasty to give it as a penalty try.
So let's deal with the first try first for Exeter.
Okay.
Was there any? Because that was a
That's
bit of
like
an
the low-
unusual. That was a bit
The
odd.
low try.
Yeah, the Lauday try.
Oh, that's the second try.
The second try, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
First try, fine.
Yeah.
Second try, where Lauday's at the front of a mall which has collapsed.
Yeah.
Just gets up and
Gets
runs
up and-
over.
Yeah.
Now, just to be clear, Tom Lauday is the lad who
The
basically was at Pirates and now is the world's greatest eight.
Well, he's playing behind that Exeter pack, so
Yeah.
yes, in that case.
That's him. He's a guy that's in my fantasy rugby draft team and got me 25 points. Thank you very much.
So you're not complaining too much.
I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah.
Going on about is the end of the game. How did you read that one, JB?
Didn't see it.
Penalty try. Okay. Well, can't really have a conversation then. I'll have one with Phil.
Sorry about
No, that's fine. So, how much of an infringement did you think? So, the Exeter Maul was well set, was trundling.
Yeah. But did it need to be a penalty try right at that second? Or could he have just let it play on and was it going to be a try anyway? Is kind of where I am. So there was an infringement, but I just didn't feel... I'm always kind of reluctant to give a penalty try. I'd almost prefer to let those things play out unless there is no way it can continue. If the ball's trapped in there, which I don't think it was when it collapsed, then... Yeah,
He was over the line. Was it held up?
Well, I'm not even sure if it was held up. It might have actually been down, which is why I just feel it just struck me as very, very early, very presumptuous to call it a penalty try, and therefore Exeter win anyway because they don't have to take the kick.
Yeah.
Whereas alternatively, they'd be kicking from the 15-metre line.
Gutted.
Which I think, well, Steenson, he's got a dead eye nerve. They probably would have ended up winning anyway, but
He does. He'd only
don't know.
slotted 2 from 4
Yeah.
up to that point.
Yeah, look, Steenson's kicked his way from the Championship all the way to Premiership glory. Slotting 2 points against Bristol on a Sunday is, relatively easy, relatively standard fare.
He was kicking at 50% on that day. Oh.
Bristol were great once again. But what I did notice, both the other week when I saw them in the Premiership Rugby Cup last weekend against Wasps, and this week particularly back in the Premiership, is Pat Lam has used this period to change his game plan. I remember asking him when they got humped. I was working on the Worcester-Bristol game. They got humped by Worcester, and I said to Pat Lam after the game, so, has this made you think you need to reassess your game plan, to have a bit more balance in the game? To which his response was, no, well, the balance is built into the game plan. It's all about decision making. Everything's built into the game plan. But I wasn't convinced by that. What I have seen from Bristol in the game yesterday against Exeter is much more balance.
Taking the points a bit more often.
Taking the points
and
5 penalty kicks and kicking territory.
Yes, not trying to run everything from everywhere. So maybe what he's saying is that's part of the game plan. The players need to do it when that's the right decision.
Yeah.
But maybe he's just reaffirmed that at times, particularly in tough games like this, that is the right decision.
Yeah, particularly when you're going up against Exeter.
It was frustrating for Bristol because this is a game they could have won, arguably should have won, depending on some decisions. They'll never have a better chance to beat Exeter.
No.
Or certainly this season, they will not have a better chance. For a few seasons, they will not have as good a chance to beat Exeter. Exeter, who are missing half a dozen plus players through injury and people in different international squads, Scotland, Wales and England. Bristol at near full strength with Piatow, who came back. So, yeah, frustrating
John
for Bristol
Afoa's
fans.
no-look flick pass.
Yeah.
Oh, my
skills.
goodness. He is, in physical form, what props dream that they are when they sleep.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, so his handling certainly, a few years ago, some of his running
Oh, I know.
when he was playing Super Rugby definitely was.
Let's just fast forward to next week's games.
Okay.
Let's do Pro 14
We haven't
first.
mentioned Bath, by the way. He had a good win against Worcester.
They did.
And Worcester, who would have been fancying that?
Yeah. Next week it's a weird one because Bath have got Newcastle
At Kingston Park.
at Kingston Park. So
That's a big one, that.
right, let's do Pro 14 first. Leinster Ospreys.
Who cares?
Leinster.
It could be anyone because it's not
Absolute toss up.
still Leinster, even
Leinster at
without
home.
a whole team out.
Although
Yeah.
Leinster conceded a lot of points to Southern Kings on the last
Last week.
on the last outing.
They did, but kids out there.
Tell you what, if you want to see some hilarious teams, check out Glasgow when all their internationals are away, because they've got Cardiff.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Give me Glasgow.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I'll tell you who cares about the next game. Me.
Here we go. Scarlets Ulster.
And this is going to be a game. Well, again, it's no comparison, but this will be a European Cup game in a couple of weeks. At Ravenhill.
This is a warm up.
Ooh, this is the equivalent to the games that we went to see. Last year. Huge.
These are all about as meaningful as the repechage matches.
Well,
that
you
we're
say
going
that.
to see.
You say that, Tim. Show a bit more respect, because on Saturday at 12:30, the Cheetahs are hosting my boys Treviso.
Oh, I mean, now we're talking.
Now we most certainly are.
You tempted to go out for this one?
Do you know? I would
Fly
be.
to Bloemfontein.
I would be. It's on my list of things that I'd love to go to.
Double the crowd.
I mean, we should go to a Treviso game just outside of Venice.
I know. I really want to go to a Treviso game.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do kind of April time when the weather's starting to pick up again.
That'd be nice.
There's some good prosecco tasting near Benetton.
Is there?
Yeah.
Perfect. Next one is Connacht against Kings.
Southern Kings away.
Good. Great. Good. Thanks for going through the fixtures.
Connacht win.
Zebra Munster, anyone could win it, and then Dragons Edinburgh. I mean, that would be tight. So, the Premiership, Worcester Harlequins. Now, this is a really funny run of games here, okay? So, Worcester Harlequins. I can see Worcester taking that.
I can,
Worcester.
at home.
I think Worcester will be targeting this.
Yep, agreed.
Harlequins had a good win. Interesting the players that Quins are losing. Obviously, Rob Shaw's injured, but Mike Brown played on the wing. Marcus Smith played. Their centres.
Oh, Marler no longer goes?
Yeah, Marler no longer leaves. Visser, he doesn't even get in the team.
Still got Joe Marchant.
Marchant's there. So they're not
they've
losing.
even got like Charlie Walker, Nathan Earls there.
Danny Care's got missing. Rob Shaw's injured.
Rob Shaw's injured.
Besides that,
that's it.
Near enough a full strength team.
Because Eddie Jones doesn't currently want Boise anymore.
Boise.
Weird. Yeah, even despite that, I still think Worcester have got a downward shot of this. I think Worcester shade it by 3. Tim?
They're not losing.
Is Duncan Weir available for them?
Yes.
He was
unless he gets called up. So he's in the Scotland squad. He played this weekend because he wasn't selected by Scotland.
I can't see him being selected. Can
And,
you?
will they have
Argentina?
Josh Adams?
No.
Probably not.
Probably not.
I say probably will. Oh, I don't know.
So I think Quins will edge it.
Yeah, I think they'll have Weir, but not Josh Adams.
Newcastle, Bath.
Newcastle have
at
got
home.
to win this.
They've got to win this.
Absolutely have to.
They have got to win this, yes. But will they win it?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not so sure. I'm going to say Bath.
Bath do lose a few players.
Falatau, Mercer, Cockney-Singer,
Ewells.
Probably
some more as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Now, I can see another upset
Watson.
here. Wasps, Bristol.
They played each other the other week, didn't they? And Bristol beat them at the Rico
Did they?
in the
So,
Premiership Rugby Cup.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it was a relatively strong Wasps team. Well, it wasn't far from full strength. They had a few players out resting.
So these
then-
are all 1 o'clock kickoffs, aren't they?
Yes.
On the Saturday. Wasps do have to win this.
So
yeah,
I'm
give me
going
Wasps. Give me Wasps at home. They've got to right some of the wrongs from the weekend just gone.
Bristol by 7.
Bristol.
Wow.
I think Bristol.
Yeah, I think Bristol. I think they're going to they're going to absolutely run riot.
I don't think they're going to run riot, but I can see Bristol sneaking this just with the players that Wasps have out.
Wasps, Sopawanga has got to earn his money.
Yep.
His 800k a year or whatever it is.
I think they're missing Nathan Hughes massively.
And yeah, so Nizam Khan didn't play at the weekend, did he?
No.
Exeter, Gloucester.
Ooh.
Exeter,
Gloucester.
So Gloucester hardly miss
Gloucester
anyone.
at Sandy Park.
Gloucester hardly miss anyone, do they?
No. And do you know who plays fly half for them? Does anyone know who plays fly half for Gloucester?
I think it's been mentioned.
Yeah, surely it's been mentioned by someone.
Ryan Lamb. So
Ludovic Mercier.
yes, exactly.
What other Gloucester fly halves can you name?
Okay, I'm going to say I can name 5 off. Can anyone give me an advance on 5?
Ahead of those 2 we've already mentioned.
Hang on. Yeah, I can give you.
Well, I'll tell you what. Go on.
Okay, I'm going to say I can give you 5, excluding the guys that you've just mentioned.
Go on then. Can you
Yeah,
any advance?
I'm definitely not advancing that.
Go on then.
Collar Spencer,
Oh, good one.
Burns 1,
Yes.
Burns 2,
Of
Oh,
course. You're rolling.
Owen Williams.
He's still there. So
Does that-
we're talking about
Right.
we're talking about historical, aren't
All
we?
right.
Oh, right, historical. Oh,
I assume we're talking about historical.
Well, I was going to just do Gloucester fly halves in general, and now I'm under pressure.
Oh, I've got one. Welshman.
Welshman.
Yeah.
Oh, Nicky.
Yes.
Nicky
Robinson.
Robinson. Well, yeah, all done.
Oh, come on, one more, and we can all go home.
One more.
Billy 12 Trees. Oh, he's still there.
Well, we'll come back to that fascinating subject later. Leicester versus Saracens
Um,
at Welford Road. A game Leicester should lose. Probably means they'll probably do all right.
no, give me Saracens.
Yeah, give me Saracens.
Even so, these are 2 kind of threadbare squads. So it does. I mean, this should be one of the games that you want to be talking about, but it's going to be less interesting. But I think Saracens, their replacements are far better than Leicester's replacements, and the systems they have instilled mean that they'll fit in much better.
Yeah, Tim, you better be googling Gloucester fly halves there.
It's harder to find than you think.
So we've got the full list. I'm just looking through this list now
Well, there's not a list
of fly halves.
of Gloucester fly halves. What?
No.
No.
So I've got a
Stuart
list
Barnes. Was he Bath and Gloucester?
Don't know.
I've got,
Ollie Barkley.
There you go.
Fantastic stuff. Fantastic podcasting. Well done all. Right.
So I'm on a list of Gloucester notable former players.
Yeah.
Philippe Saint-André.
Winger.
Guess what his... So this is Wikipedia, so it could be wrong. Guess what his current role is in rugby?
His current role is director of a sort of like a training base up in the Alps.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's doing... he's identifying players that have slipped through the net, isn't he?
So he might be doing that alongside this role that is listed. So he is...
Cheesemaker?
No, he is an international team head coach.
Really?
But which international team?
Bloody hell. An international...
Russia.
No.
Just trying to think where the cash is.
So get the continent first.
Is it?
America.
No, wait.
North America.
Stop.
No.
Stop. Is it something like Indonesia or Malaysia?
So you're saying Asia as a continent?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
So it's Africa.
Correct.
Namibia.
No, that's Phil Davis.
Nope.
Botswana.
No. Probably equally known for their
Kenya.
rugby. No. Less well known than Kenya for their rugby.
Ghana?
No.
Hang on, he's French, isn't he? So let's think of the...
Democratic
Ivory Coast.
Republic of Congo.
No. No.
South Hop.
Uganda.
No.
Rwanda.
Morocco.
No. No.
Algeria.
Tunisia.
No. No.
Egypt. Chad.
No. Keep naming African countries.
Zimbabwe. No.
Sao Tom.
This is French. This is a former French colony.
Hang on, where do all the football?
Madagascar.
Mantinique.
No.
Ivory Coast.
No.
I've done that
I
one.
said
Oh.
I've done Ghana.
Senegal.
no. I think it's very near. I think it's geographically near Ivory Coast. Not that this is going to help you particularly.
I don't know. I'm done.
No. I'm not. I'm just looking at the Africa. I'm looking at the African continent. But that's like cheating, really.
Kind of.
Never mind.
Nigeria.
No. Near Nigeria, geographically.
Oh,
Niger, Mali, Angola, Zambia,
No.
Cameroon.
Cameroon.
oh.
Cameroon.
How's Cameroon? Really? Wow. They speak French there, don't they? Yeah.
They do, yeah. According to Wikipedia, that is. There you go.
If you take nothing else away from our podcast, Philippe Saint-Andre, team manager for Cameroon. Team manager, not DOR.
He's down as head coach.
I'm
I
like,
think
imagine
it was.
team manager's the guy that like, right, I've got your kit. You need to be on the bus
That's what
at 2
Richard
p.m.
Hill- what Richard Hill's doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the reason they brought in what's his name, Will Calling, because he didn't have any legends of English rugby to hand.
Yeah.
Even though Richard Hill was knocking about,
And Johnny Wilkinson.
and John Wilson, but they need more legends.
Well, maybe those two are just not legendary enough.
Exactly.
Legendary enough.
Exactly.
I like the word legendy.
Legendy. Legendary enough. There you go.
Right,
We've
well,
done
we-
our predictions.
Well, tell you what, boys, we truly farrelled that.
Positive outcome?
Positive. Well, yeah, go with it.
Messed it up, positive outcome. It was ropey, then Philippe Saint-Andre.
Save
the
the
day.
day.
Oh, I've just been followed by Jack Morehouse, who plays for Sale FC.
Yeah.
Have you played against him?
He used to play for Mac, Sideshow Bob.
Yeah. Bloody good player. He
Speaking
scored,
of legends, Philippe Saint-Andre, Jack Morehouse.
yeah, scored
Awesome.
5 tries against us once.
Really?
Yeah, got dropped to 2s and battered Broughton Park 2s.
There you go.
Right, nice one. Thanks for listening. Subscribe. We'll see you all after the weekend with all the international and domestic stuff. Let the boys play.
Bye bye.
Right. Is YouTube still on?
Oh yeah, turn that off.
Before you start implicating.